If you don't mind, I'm going to give it one more shake before you talk. I don't want to drown out your words. And then I'm going to pour. This is a Blue Lagoon. So I am not a cocktail person, but hold on. Let me get it so the camera.
Woo!
It's disgusting.
That's not disgusting.
No,
That is
it's
beautiful.
disgusting. Blue raspberry lemonade vodka with some blue lemonade and blue Caraco.
Blue curacao.
Is that how you say that? I
Yeah.
don't know. Oh. So, anyways, I also, because I'm drinking this, I also brought something for the headache.
Oh,
that
we're
I'm
gonna add drugs. We're gonna add
surely-
drugs to the show.
No,
Lucky you said headache, because it
The
was like,
first
oh, now
time-
this is a party.
This marks the first time in Silver Screen Happy Hour history we're mixing poppers with our drinks.
It's a naproxen. Come on.
Yeah.
You got to grind it first and then pour it in.
Let me get up. I got to get my fentanyl, and then we'll get this party started.
Anyway.
Alec, it's easy to drink it compared to shelving it.
Cheers. Cheers to this first time for us being somebody else's show.
Yes,
thank you for having us.
No, of course. You guys have a great show, and me and Chris have been talking for a while now, and I can't think of any better guys to talk about these two films.
Yeah, so what piqued our interest is on our show, we generally will pick two films and compare and contrast the script structure. And we follow, for anyone that's listening that's interested in screenwriting, we follow the Blake Snyder Save the Cat ideology. Blake Snyder passed away, I believe, in 2009. He's considered on the Mount Rushmore of screenwriting teachers, along with Sid Field and Charles McGee. And he wrote 3 books. They're in the Save the Cat trilogy. And they basically lay out beats, what every writer should know how to hit these beats. He also puts a page number where they should come. Now, as we all know in screenwriting, a minute is a page. So 120 pages is about a 2-hour film, 120 minutes. And where these beats should hit. Now, remember, it's always tools, not rules. So we don't try to stick to it as much as possible. But you should, as a screenwriter, you should always try to hit these beats and hit them in order. It doesn't necessarily, the page doesn't necessarily matter. Although I kind of think it does because it works with pacing. But anyway, so we would compare 2 movies on our show. And Chris sparked our interest of what if we compared what makes a good script compared to what makes a crap script, right? Shit. Or a crap film. Right, shit film. What makes shit film? And how do you know the film is shit?
Yeah, right? Actually, let me jump in. We did a whole bunch. We did several podcasts where we just loved both movies, and that's why we were picking them. And then one time we picked it was a Mel Gibson movie. What was it called?
On the Line.
On the Line. And we paired that with a 1980s film called Talk Radio, right?
Yeah.
And the Talk Radio,
which is an Oliver Stone film.
Yeah, that's it's a great screenplay. And the Mel Gibson one was a freaking turd. And we had so much fun destroying that movie on our podcast. It was so much fun. So I was like, that's kind of a good model to, pick a great movie and a shitty one and talk about why. Why did the one just suck?
Yeah.
Good to a pile of crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to do that today.
We're going to do that today.
Which we could not pick a more distant of great to should have just actually been released.
Right. Greatness to excrement.
That's right. And the funny thing is, you don't even have to watch the movie. You just have to look at the shark.
Yeah. Well,
right.
Well, we'll get into that. Don't get ahead of ourselves. We got a lot to get to before we get to the shark.
Welcome to the Lights, Camera, Rant Podcast. Your source for the latest on movies, TV shows, and video games. Get ready for ranting, raving, and reviewing. Here is your host, Lee.
So, as I was saying before we started recording, I haven't seen Jaws since I was a little kid, and I only remember flashes. So when I went to go rewatch it the other week, I remember looking, this is horrific. this is such more of a horror film than I remember being a monster film. And
Yeah.
I forgot how long they sit on the water for as well, which we'll get into later when they're trying to hunt the shark. But when did you guys first, obviously age difference for all three of us, but when did you guys first see Jaws? Like, did you guys see it in the theaters?
Who is the elder here? Is Chris? Chris, are you the elder?
Oh yeah, by far, I'm sure. Well, at least I don't know how old Lee is, but I know I'm how many 5 years older than you, something like that.
Yeah, I was born in 75. The
Oh, I'm
year this
70,
movie
Oh
came
no,
71.
out.
you came out.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so the year Jaws came out, I was born. So needless to say, I did not see it in the theater.
I don't think I saw it either in the theater. I mean, because I remember some movies from the mid '70s seeing it. Like I saw Star Wars at a drive-in. I know that. But I don't remember seeing. I don't remember honestly. I don't remember the first time I saw it. It's just been part of the culture that I grew up in. But um, so because I was like what 4 when it came out, I doubt our parents took me to see Jaws but I remember it's so funny because I do recall watching Saturday Night Live because our parents would let us stay up kind of late, or maybe me because I was older than my brother and sister. But I would stay up until the band came on. That they would let me stay up until the band came on to watch Saturday Night Live. And I remember the
But
skit with the shark.
but the weekend update is right after the commercial break,
I
after
know,
the
but
first
I didn't know that.
band act. That's all. That's the only reason why I watch SNL anymore is weekend update.
Yeah. So, but anyways, but yeah, no, I've seen it countless times on video over the years, and it was fun rewatching it this week.
So for me, I was born in 75, the year it came out. I want to say my first experience with Jaws was Jaws 3 when it
3D.
hit cable, in 3D. When it hit cable, that must have been what was that? 83, 84 maybe. And I remember it hitting cable, and that was my first film of the entire saga was Jaws 3. And I liked it so much because that's so corny and cheesy now when you watch it. But when you're like 8 years old, it's like, this is awesome, right? Yeah, it's 3D. The literal jaws come out to the screen after they blow its head off at the end. Like the teeth literally come to the screen. And when you're a kid, you're like, that's awesome. And when you're an adult, you watch it, you're like, what fucking cheese, man. That is
Especially now.
cringe.
Especially
so
now.
cringe. It's so cringeworthy. And then but I'm actually going to plug another show here, or another movie. There's an early 80s movie called Terror in the Isle with Donald Pleasance. It's actually a sort of like a documentary of horror films. And they go through all the gamut, the Friday 13th, the Halloween. It's a really good if you can find it. I have it on Blu-ray because I bought it off Amazon or DVD. And it's really cool. But in that, they show a bunch of clips from Jaws. And that was sort of my intro to, wow, I really got to see the first one. I've been watching this lame-ass 3D one my whole life. So I might have been 9 by the time I finally watched Jaws, and I was just blown away. I was like, holy crap, that's way scarier than Jaws 3. And yeah, so that was and I've loved it ever since. And, that's kind of what started my love for Spielberg, was getting into Jaws. And of course, E.T. So,
I do recall when our kids were little, our local Parks and Rec department or something, they had a movie night for the community at the beach because we lived in Lakeport, Michigan, right off of Lake Huron. And so they had the screen set up on the beach, and everyone was on the sand. And I believe there were some people in kayaks and stuff out in the water, and they played Jaws, and that was really fun and cool and everything. But so that was another cool experience that I've had with the movie.
But I was older when Jaws 4 hit theaters. And I want to say I saw Jaws 4 in the theater, which means I actually gave it my fucking money. And when you're a teenager and like you scrape together your friggin' lawnmower money and you go to see a movie like Jaws 4, it's really depressing. It really is.
So I could say the first time I saw Jaws 4 was yesterday. I just never saw it.
Same for me. I've only seen clips, and obviously the infamous thing with Michael Caine saying, I've never watched it, but I do love the house it built for
Yes!
my mother.
That's a
That
great
was
quote.
damn it, Lee. That was one of my trivia I was going to tell you later.
All right.
Michael Caine's interview is hilarious. He's like, people ask him all the time, have you seen it? And his response was, I've never seen it, but I saw the house it built because he bought that house for his mom.
Yeah. Well, I was just looking on IMDb's trivia facts, and one of the trivia facts was that the only reason he signed on for that film was apparently for the first 2 lines was like, this will be shot in the Bahamas, or the scene opens in Hawaii. And he's like, sold.
Yeah. That's a great interview if you watch it. And the funny thing is, I got more we'll talk about later. The director's interview is also telling. Like, everyone knew this was a pile of shit, but they did it anyway. That's boggles
It was
my
a
mind.
paycheck for a lot of people.
Yeah, for
Pretty
a
much.
lot of people. All right, so how do we want to kick this off?
All right, let's go. Let's dive into the first one. Let's go with Jaws straight off the bat.
right.
First one
Yes.
that started all 1975 and considered the beginner of what started the summer blockbuster.
Yes.
This is what kicked it all off.
Yep.
Because this is usually before this. I think when films got released this time, it was the dead zone. It was what you wanted to flop.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about now, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But think about that. This film changed Hollywood as we know it.
Yeah.
Like, this movie, directed by a friggin' no-namer at the time.
And John Williams.
Who was afraid he was going to get fired every day on the set. Every day the producers came to the set, Spielberg would be like, today's the day I got to talk about it firing me. They're here to fire me, and I got to talk them out of it. Like, I mean, and now, and to think about today's era of youth, they have no idea about this movie. All they know is Transformers and Marvel shit. And that's all, and it's all. I don't want to be branded like Scorsese was. I'll take the word.
You just
shit
attacked
off of
half
that.
the Lee's
Yeah, I'm sorry.
audience. Come on.
I did not mean to say. I didn't mean to say Marvel shit. I just meant Marvel and Transformers shit. That's
all right.
better.
I agree with you with the Transformers. That needs to
exactly.
needs to die a little.
But I mean, my point is, today's kids wait for the summertime. That's their bread and butter for movies. Right. And it's all started because of this. Like you said, man, back in the 70s before Jaws, a studio would put all their weight behind like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or Apocalypse Now, or you know what I mean? Like these were their big movies that are going to get all the Oscars. And back then Oscars meant money. There was no summer blockbuster. There was no popcorn film back then, you know? And people say, oh, it was Star Wars. Jaws beat Star Wars by 2 years. So, you know, it was actually Jaws that started all that shit. So interesting.
It was. And I will just say for everyone, like just the synopsis was just when a killer shark unleashes chaos on a beach community off Cape Cod, it's up to a local sheriff, a marine biologist, and an old seafarer to hunt the beast down. Like that was all the tagline, like the synopsis was.
I'm glad you read the log line, because here's what's important for writing. That we're right off the bat now on what separates good movies from bad movies. The log line, for all you writers out there or aspiring writers, your log line is basically your act 2, right? That's when act 2 starts. The act 1 is all set up. It's basically your main character is kind of stuck in their life, how they are, right? And then there's an inciting incident. Something happens which causes them to be faced with the decision whether or not to jump into act 2. Remember, that's important. A lot of beginning writers will write a script where their main character is forced into act 2. And that can't happen. Act 2 has to present itself. Your main character has to deal with it. Has to be forced to deal with it. So I have a hot take here. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, I have a hot take. Are you ready?
Ready.
We're going to talk about Chief Brody's arc. Chief Brody is lazy. There's your hot take. All right. So here,
I caught something in this watch. Something I've learned to do, Lee, after doing this with my brother for a little while, because you can tell he's the talent when it comes to screenwriting and all this stuff. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the art.
I like being called
talent.
Whatever. I like stroking his ego too, because it makes him funny.
I'll be expecting my paycheck.
Until he's
Lee.
annoying.
Just let me pump you up a little bit more.
Right. But what it's done for me though, watching these movies, I actually start picking stuff up that I used to just not even pay attention to. So, yeah. So, you mentioned Brody's arc,
Yeah. So
and
okay.
because I noticed there was like a line in there at the very beginning about how, um, he came from New York City, right? He moved
Yes.
there from New
Right.
York City to get away from whatever. It was hard work, right? Being a cop in New York City. I got that
Absolutely.
from that line. And then he comes to this quiet little island, to kind
So
of
so
phone it
here's
in.
so yeah,
Quiet little
exactly.
island.
Exactly. So let's dive into that a little bit. So I wrote down here, maybe lazy is a harsh word. He avoids responsibility. That's his
Yeah.
that's his theme, right? He avoids responsibility. It's, like you said, it certainly explains why he would leave New York City, right, and go to this beach town, even though he doesn't like the water. He's not
No.
a fan of the water. A lot of people think Brody's arc is that he's afraid of the water, and by the end of the movie, he's not. That's not his arc, because like 5 minutes in, well, maybe more like 10 minutes in, he's already on the ferry going across where he's talking to the mayor and everybody. And there is no scene there where he's like, oh my God, I'm on a ferry. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
He's
Right,
not,
right.
he doesn't like the water, but he's not afraid of it. Okay. People misconstrue that as his theme. His theme is he avoids responsibility. That's his problem. Right. So, and usually we say, okay, about 5 minutes in is when, oh, by the way, I wrote down here, the film is littered with examples of him avoiding responsibility. The opening scene, he yells to his kids, don't play on those swings. I haven't fixed them yet. Right? Right off the bat.
That's a
Boom.
good. I missed that one.
Though, and then later around the midpoint scene when the orca's getting ready to set sail and Ellen comes to give him a kiss goodbye, he tells her then, I have it written down here too, don't use the fireplace in the den. I haven't fixed it yet. He says that at the midpoint. So, like, and if you watch the opening, the whole first act is townspeople keep coming to him with their problems. Oh, they're karate chopping. And he's like, hey, Hendricks, his lieutenant, Hendricks. Hey, yeah, take care of this, will you? Yeah. He bucks responsibilities. Even when he wants to close the beaches, have Polly do the printing. Put up the signs that say close the beaches. Have Polly do the printing, and then you go hammer him in. This guy doesn't intend on doing anything while he's here, right? Like, so a lot of people will say that the inciting incident is where Brody finds the body of the girl on the beach. Yes. There is a moment where he does turn and look at the ocean, like, what the hell did this? But he's not pushed yet to deal with this. He's looking for the easy way out. Well, I'll just put signs up that say close the beaches. Simple, right? The
That's
real
all.
inciting incident is when the mayor and everybody gets on his back on that ferry and says, you can't just close the beaches. Right. Yeah. We this is how we make money. So now, but what does he do? Although he feels guilty about it, what does he do? He says to the medical examiner, you'll stand by that it was a boat propeller? He's like, yeah, I'll stand by that. He's like, all right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
that's what you want.
Yeah, that's where we go.
Which actually, that scene, that scene where the arm's sticking out of the ocean, sorry, out of the beach with a dead girl. That's actually not a prop. That's actually a real female cast member they got to do it because the arm looked too fake. So they buried a cast member just to, here's your shining moment of your career, is your arm.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, yeah, so
go
ahead, Chris.
Well, I was just gonna say, man. So this movie, one of the things I love about Jaws, the first movie, literally, I looked at the time code. 4 minutes in, Chrissy goes down in the water. That she's the one that dies from the shark. 4 minutes in the movie, and she's dead.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Okay, so if you want to follow the beats, for you writers, write this down. Here's your beats, and we're gonna lay them out in order. All right. The very first one is opening image. Now, the importance of the opening image, not a lot of films do this. You catch it every now and again. You're like, that guy must be a Blake Snyder guy. The opening image and the closing image are supposed to contradict each other because of the journey that took place in between. So the opening image of Jaws is danger underneath the water, right? The opening image is dun, 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 right? We're seeing the shark's kind of POV as it's lurking, right? It's danger underneath the water. I'm going to skip ahead real quick here. What's the closing image? We already know the closing image of Shaw.
Little sound effect there.
They're above water, and they're safe. So it's a contrast, right? Below water danger, above water danger is eliminated. So that's the opening and closing image. You'll find if you really look at movies, keep that in mind when you go watch your next movie. Keep a little file of opening and closing. So for instance, let me see. The opening of, I don't know, Top Gun. What's the opening of Top Gun? Planes landing and taking off from an aircraft carrier, right? The grounding process, taking off and landing. The closing image of Top Gun are planes already in flight doing aerial moves as the credits go. So sort of like, you know what I mean? Like there's, again, that's abstract, but if you think about it, like there's a telling point there of Maverick's journey in the movie Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
From where he is at the beginning to where he is at the end. That's not an accident, right? That's Tony Scott. He knows what he's doing. So think about that the next time you watch, your favorite movie.
I will now.
Yeah, look for the open. Godfather is another great one. Opening image of Godfather is the Don in his office accepting requests, right? The closing image is the Don, Michael, getting his hand kissed as the new Godfather, and they close the door on Diane Keaton as she's staring at him. Like, boom. Right? Two major contrasts, right? So, all right, so we're getting at kind of. Oh, by the way, Lee, I have to tell you ahead of time, we go off the rails a lot, and we start ranting about other shit, and that's why our shows last so long.
That's fine. That's entirely what this show's built on, is ranting.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So, opening image, okay, below the sea, danger. So the mirror flip to the closing image. That's for you beginning writers. The next is the theme stated. 5 or 6 minutes into the film is when somebody should tell your lead what their problem is. Now, Ellen doesn't necessarily tell him what problem he is, but she does say, "Listen, Chief, be careful, will you?" And he laughs and says, "In this town?" So that's 6 minutes in, right? So he's basically stating, I don't have to do shit in this town. Yeah. I can avoid responsibility all I want. Nothing happens here. So setup. Okay, body washes ashore. Medical examiner says it was a shark. He figures close the beach, right? Simple, not a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of setup between pages, or I should say minutes, 6 to 11, where they establish this small town nature where everybody has these little problems. And he bucks responsibility on pretty much all of them, right?
No.
Yeah. No, you take care of that. Yeah. You take care of that. Okay, so 12 minutes in, catalyst, inciting incident. The town leaders, including Mayor Larry Vaughn, urge him against closing the beaches. Now we have a problem because it was an easy fix. Now he's got complications. But as I stated already, he's quick to say, okay, if the medical examiner's willing to say it was a boat, then fucking guess what? It's a boat. Right? Yeah. I don't care. I don't really give a shit as long as I don't have to deal with it. I'm avoiding responsibility.
So you know what? To your point on that, Jerome, one of the things that blew my mind, and his wife got on his ass about the kids being in the water because he knew there was a shark attack, and he didn't tell anyone. You know, not even his family.
No.
Right?
Right, because again, he doesn't think it's that big a deal. He doesn't know what he's dealing with yet, right?
That's true, but I mean, he knows there was a shark attack.
So the next, yes, he believes it was a shark attack. The medical examiner is now saying it was a boat propeller, right? So the next beat is called Debate Begins. That generally happens minutes between 12 and 25, and it's where the main character has that catalyst, but has to now decide whether or not they want to jump into Act 2. So something has to happen. In Star Wars, it's not enough that Luke sees the hologram of Princess Leia saying, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope." He says, "I can't go with you. I have a moisture farm to run. I can't go with you." It's not until he goes home and finds out that, what I believe Boba Fett fried Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, that extra he then crispy. Decides, extra crispy.
Did you hear that hot take? He believes it was Boba Fett that did that.
Boba Fett. I will argue this to the day I die. Boba Fett, remember, because Vader tells him no disintegrations. That's Boba's thing, man. He sets people on fire. Since when do stormtroopers set people on fire? They can't even hit a barn, the side of a barn with their lasers. So how the hell are they going to set people on fire? It was
that's a good point. Like, and it makes perfect sense because they can't hit anything. But Boba Fett, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Remember,
Go talk to this elderly family on the planet. You'll be fine.
they show Boba on Tatooine earlier in that movie in the special edition. Right after, we're going off again. We're falling off the
No, it's fine. It's fine.
anyway. So okay. So the debate begins. There's a lot of shit that goes on to get Brody to think, man, I'm really uneasy about just accepting this and rolling over. So a couple of things happen. Pippet the dog dies. Alex Kittner dies.
I felt that.
Sorry.
I was like, not the dog. Not the
dog. The dog. The shark ate a dog. And then Kittner dies. Now everyone's like, whoa, you're just going to gloss over Alex Kittner dying? Yes, because he's just, sorry to say, one of the numbers, right? He's now the second human casualty. This is important. He's the second human casualty. We have our intro to Quint, but we haven't hit our break into 2 yet. And I'll tell you why, because the shark, up until this point, still isn't a problem for everyone on the beach.
No.
They're just thinking, what's going on?
It hasn't been shown. Hasn't been shown either.
Right.
So now I wrote this down. We had 1 human death. Now we have 2 human deaths and a dog. So let's keep the tally going. Mrs. Kittner puts out a nationwide reward of $3,000. Today's money, that's $17K. That's $17,000 by today's dollars.
Thank you for adjusting for inflation.
Yeah, I adjust for inflation. We do that a lot here. So, and that's what leads to the jump to Act 2, because again, beginning writers, your break into 2 is the mirror flip to Act 1. So if Act 1 is your setup, your Act 2 is the upside down world. It's where shit's now out of control. And the very next scene, we got fucking boaters coming in from all over the country. So the town is flipped upside down. And what does Brody say to Hendrix? These are your people. Go talk to them. I don't want to deal with this. Right? Like, all these fucking people are all over the... And what does Hendrix say? These aren't my people. They're coming from all over the place. Look at those license plates. So now Brody's got a problem. So now we're in Act 2, because now he feels like he has to at least try to deal with something. He's weighing in over his head, though.
Yeah.
So
one guy carries diamond. One guy's carrying dynamite.
Right. So here we go. So the B story. What is the B story, right? In most romantic films, the B story is where the guy meets the girl, right? Or you meet the love interest or whatever. The B story is supposed to be the calming influence of the protagonist's problem. Somebody that could be a partner, somebody that can help you, right? They're usually introduced about a half hour in. This is the funny part.
Enter Quint.
No.
No?
Quint's already been introduced, but he hasn't done anything. He just said, I'll do it for more than $3,000, Chief. I'll find them for $3,000.
His fingernails on the chalkboard scene, man.
Okay. But that's in...
I started screaming at the TV when he did that. I was
that's
like,
still the debate. That's still in the debate. Yeah.
Is that the scene? Like, is that the one that started that parody all that time? Is that the original one where you see in every other TV show everyone scratches on the chalkboard?
I mean,
probably. It's very effective in this film.
Yeah.
So here's what I wrote down. Literally 30 minutes in, at the 30-minute mark, this line of dialogue is uttered. Hi, I'm Matt Hooper from the Oceanographic Institute.
Oh, yeah.
So Richard Dreyfuss enters the picture 30 minutes in. So and again, this is important as the B story, because finally somebody is giving relief to Brody. Somebody, an expert that can come and deal with this, because again, Brody's avoiding responsibility. So now he finally meets, and what does he say when he meets him? Oh, I'm so glad you're here. He basically sucks him off, right? Because he's so happy. He's so happy that there's somebody to take care of this problem for me.
Thank God you're here.
Yeah, oh my God. Thank God. So now I can go back to sitting in my office with my feet up. So Fun and Games is another beat. This is a Blake Snyder beat called Fun and Games. This generally happens from you're 30 minutes in to your an hour in now, right? This takes you to your midpoint. And what Fun and Games is supposed to be is what you mentioned, your log line, right? So it's supposed to be Act 2. Although the log line for this really hints at the midpoint, but for most purposes, when you think about a movie and you read its log line, that's generally the Fun and Games part. That's when shit starts to go crazy and you're in Act 2 and they're trying to deliver the premise, right? Because what is the premise? The premise is why we went. It's why we went to the theater. It's what we want to see. That's the stuff they show in the trailer a lot, is the Fun and Games scenes. So our Fun and Games here Hooper examines Chrissy's remains. The tiger shark is caught, which Brody loves. You see Brody how is in great spirits when they catch that tiger shark? Because what is he
got
thinking?
it. They got it.
Hey, look at me. I'm going to be fucking chief of the century. We have my people now, not Hendrix people. We caught the shark and blah, blah, blah. He doesn't have to worry about it anymore. Then we get the Mrs. Kittner with the slap heard around the world.
Yeah.
Dinner at home with Hooper, cutting open the tiger shark, finding out Kittner's not in the belly. And they go looking for the shark in the middle of the night, and they find human victim number 3, Ben Gardner, when they find his boat looks like a toothpick. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So that all happens. That's your fun and games, and that leads to your midpoint. Now, what is your midpoint? So the midpoint scene in most films is where the protagonist gets his tangible goal. This is one of my hot buttons. Some screenwriting instructors will tell you that the promise of the premise is what you need to do. You need to keep delivering the premise, right? If it's a movie about Top Gun, you need to show planes. You got to show planes. That's what people came there for. Me, I'm a goals guy, a tangible and spiritual goal and the emotional shifts that get you there. For your listeners that want to really dig into our show, go back and listen to I think it was called the Promising Young Thelma episode, where we did Promising Young Woman versus Thelma and Louise. The Thelma and Louise script nails this as far as emotional shifts, where Thelma is becoming a completely different person by the end of the film, but it's not just a night and day switch. There's constant back and forth where she is baby Thelma, where she's getting ridiculed by Louise, and she's got her tail between her legs. And then the next scene, she's Alpha Thelma again, wielding her gun around, putting her gun to a cop's head, shooting up a rig filled with oil, rocket fuel, blowing that up. So, and it's almost every other scene where she's baby Thelma and then Alpha Thelma until you get to the end. Michael Corleone from The Godfather is another perfect example, where your alpha has completely consumed the baby version of you, and that baby version no longer exists.
Gone.
But anyway, that's the emotional shifts to your spiritual goal. Okay, so here's the important thing, Lee, the difference between the two. Chris, what is your tangible goal?
What is my tangible goal?
No, not yours personally. Yeah. What is the tangible goal? Chris is like, well, I'd like to buy another car, I guess. No. Yeah. What is the main character of any film? What is their tangible goal?
The tangible goal is to solve whatever problem is presented.
It's what they want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's what they want. And they generally, in good scripts, they get that at the midpoint scene. Because they think the movie's over now, right?
Yeah. So in Silence of the Lambs, that one's coming out. We're on Halloween. We already recorded it, but we talked about Clarice's back and forth, and her tangible goal was she just wanted to be involved. She just wanted to be included. She just wanted to help.
She just wanted to help.
Yeah. Your Silence of the Midsummer, which I did love the title. I love the title. When I saw it pop up on my Spotify, I was like,
yeah. Yeah, that was a fun one. You got to listen to that and hear how giddy we get on that one.
I did. I've listened to the first, I think, 20 minutes of it, and you guys are already off.
Yeah, we go off and run.
That is such a disturbing movie, and for the listeners, my mother messaged us both today and said, "Oh my gosh, I listened to that episode." And she was laughing because my brother took her to see Midsummer, and I couldn't believe he did because it's such a disturbing movie. And anyways, but
you'll hear on that podcast, I've taken our mother to see some messed up movies before. So this is my love for my mother. I've taken her to see The Whale. I took her to see Leaving Las Vegas when I was 20 years old.
That's a horrible movie.
Where a drunk tells a prostitute about coming in her hair or something. Like, I'm with my mother.
So gross.
I'm with my mother in this.
It was so
gross. Anyway. We're getting off track again. Yeah. We're getting
back
off
to
track
Jaws.
again.
Back to Jaws.
Back to Jaws. So the tangible goal is what they want.
Yeah.
The spiritual goal is what they need.
Right.
And generally what they need is to conquer that theme that was presented to them at the beginning. You already know, if you've seen Jaws, you know where I'm going with this, right? So his tangible goal is to get somebody to deal with this shark. Somebody, anybody but me to deal with this shark. So he's avoiding the responsibility as much as he can. I've heard critiques of Jaws that say once he makes the decision to go out on the Orca, he has conquered his fear of the water. And fuck that. He's still a pussy. Wait till we get on the Orca. Brody's got a laundry list of shit that still makes him the weak link of the three, right? But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Okay, so B story, fun and games, midpoint scene. So the scare at the beach on the 4th of July is the midpoint scene. And why? This is hugely important, not just because it lands an hour into the movie, but it's coincidentally the 4th human fatality as a guy in the boat meets his maker. He's the guy that loses his leg and then dies. Usually what we have here, for you Blake Snyder fans, it's called the false victory, because the main character gets his tangible goal. He got what he thinks he wants. So to him, problem solved, right? Of course, we all know the second half of the film, everything goes to shit, and it's all the bad stuff that happens. So, again, we're forcing the protagonist to deal with his inner theme, his inner problem. So why is this a false victory? Because even though a guy died, Brody gets to corner the mayor in the hospital and say, you're going to sign this waiver to hire Quint to kill the shark. Right now, you're going to give me what I want, which is we're going to hire somebody to deal with this, a real expert to deal with killing the shark. That's a false victory.
And quick side point, the mayor also lights a smoke in the hospital. I'm like, yeah, they can really tell this is a different time. Like, it just lights up. I'm like,
Jerry, didn't I send you a picture of that?
Yeah.
I took a picture of the screen when he lit the cigarette, or when he's hitting the cigarette in the hospital, and I said, how come more hospitals didn't explode in the 70s?
Yeah. So now they're out on the Orca. We already nailed the part where he tells Ellen before he goes, don't use the fireplace in the den. I haven't fixed it yet. Just another little moment where he's avoiding responsibility. I'm going to give you a quick laundry list of moments of Brody still fighting against his spiritual goal of dealing with this problem himself. Okay. I'm just going to give you quick bullet points. Are you ready? You're going to need a bigger boat.
Ad-lib.
After they talk, after they talk about how big the shark really is, he says, we're going to go back and get a bigger boat, right? Hooper wants him to go to the end of the pulpit so he can get a picture of it to scale. And terrified, Brody says, scale my ass. He's not going out there, right? Moments later, Quint is trying to tag the shark with a barrel. Brody's yelling, kill it, Quint, kill it, now. Kill it? Like, Quint is just trying to tag it with those yellow barrels. He's not trying to kill the thing right now. He's just trying to tag it. But Brody's up there, like, kill it, Quint. Let's kill it and go home. Like, what the hell are you talking about? So when things aren't working out, Brody laments, what do we do now? We're quitting, right? He literally says that. Then later, why don't we lead him into shore instead of him leading us out to sea? Again, I don't want to deal with this. How about we just kind of get closer to home? And then maybe if we get close enough, you could just drop me off and you guys continue to go taking care of this. Let us not forget the doomed distress call to the Coast Guard where the radio is met with Quint's bat. He's calling for help. And Quint comes in and beats the shit out of it with the bat. So these are all moments where Brody is avoiding responsibility. He still hasn't learned his lesson yet. That's the main thing. So that's the whole second act there, or the second half of the second act, which is bad guys closing in. That's another beat for you Blake Snyder disciples. Bad guys closing in is where all the things I just mentioned, Quint keeps berating Hooper and his equipment, oh, you city boy with your city hands, blah, 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 blah.
Some of your hands.
Yeah, they all
city hands.
right. They have their first real encounter with the shark. He eats through the fishing wire. They have that scene with the matching scars, and of course the Indianapolis speech, which I think we posted on the Silver Screen Happy Hour page one time. Is this the greatest monologue in film history? Now, people might not know this. It went through several drafts of writers before Robert Shaw himself said, let me have a crack at it. And what you see on screen is Robert Shaw's version.
That's amazing.
So they even brought in John Milius, who wrote Red Dawn, wrote and directed Red Dawn. I think he wrote the script for Apocalypse Now, I think. They brought him in to write the Indianapolis speech.
Wow.
And his version was the one they were about to shoot. And Robert Shaw pulled Spielberg aside at the 0 hour and said, let me do it. Just let me give my version. and see if you like it. And the version you see on screen is Robert Shaw's version.
That's amazing. I love that.
Shit.
Yeah. All right, so now we get to the All Is Lost. Again, major beat point. This is huge for all you writers. The All Is Lost. Okay, that means shit hits the fan. Everything we've wanted to do up until this point is gone, and we're basically screwed, and there's no way out of this, right? Think of your favorite movies. What are some of the All Is Lost in some of your favorite films?
Infinity War.
What Infinity War?
I was going to say Infinity War. It's the top of my head.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah. Here's the problem with Infinity War.
Well,
Infinity War and Endgame is all one big movie, right?
Yeah.
So that's more the midpoint scene, I guess,
right.
because you get to the end of 3 hours and the credits roll, and you're like, well, we got 3 more hours to go when the other movie comes out. So that one's a tough call.
Yeah.
But usually it's where, and I told my brother this story. I was in a hotel room. My parents come out to visit. By the way, Chris lives in Michigan still. I was born in Michigan, but I live in California now. Our folks, come out and visit me twice a year. And sometimes we'll go to somewhere like Santa Cruz or Monterey, and we get a hotel room. Once we get the girls to bed, I'll go to my parents' room. We'll play cards and drink, right? That's what we do. Right?
Good time.
So, yeah, good time. One time I come in and my mom's watching a Hallmark Channel movie. You remember this, right, Chris? When I told you this story?
Yeah.
So... And I sit down. I haven't watched a stitch of this movie. I don't know what's going on, but I sit down and I go, how far are we in on this? She goes, oh, it's been on for over an hour. I go, okay, something bad's about to happen. She goes, what do you mean? I go, who's the main guy? She goes, that guy right there. I said, okay, whatever's going on with this guy, shit's about to hit the fan, and you might as well roll the credits because the movie's basically going to be in the gutter. What happens? The girl and the guy break up. She moves out of town or whatever. I mean, it's just like a complete shit show. And she's like, how did you know that was going to happen? I was like, it's standard. All Is Lost happens around, about 75% into your film, right? 75 minutes into, say, a 100-minute film. What?
When the Terminator, when was the All Is Lost in the Terminator? When Reese died? Or was it before that?
No, I think that's more part of the finale.
Yeah, that is part of the finale.
I would say that All Is Lost is when the Terminator shoots up the police station. Because at that point, she feels like, oh, it's great.
No one to turn to.
I'm safe.
Yeah, she had a false victory. She was safe in the
Yeah.
police station.
Reese
yeah.
was insane. I'm safe. I'm surrounded by 30 cops.
There it is.
Everything's good. And then the Terminator comes in and single-handedly annihilates the entire police
lights
station.
that place up.
Not only does he just come in, he drives in to get rid of everybody.
Right.
So that and then of course that leads to this Dark Night of the Soul where she's in that, by the way, follows the All Is Lost. When everything hits the fan, shit hits the fan, you have this moment. It could be 30 seconds, it could be 5 minutes. It's the moment where the protagonist has to consider, what are we going to do next? What am I going to do next? And it's that scene in the tunnel. In the Terminator, by the way. We've jumped off of Jaws for a moment.
I was like, I don't remember the tunnel in Jaws.
Yeah, where's the tunnel? Anyway, it's after they avoid the police station. That gets them into Act 3. But anyway, let's get back to Jaws. So the All Is Lost, a lot of people think it's Quint's death, and it's not. And I'll tell you why.
No.
Because there's no time for him to lament or think about anything after Quint dies. The reason why people think it's Quint's death is because generally the All Is Lost, somebody dies, right? Where you're Obi-Wan dying, right? Like there's usually somebody dies and you're like, where do I go from here? I'm fucked. And they call it the whiff of death. All Is Lost is considered whiff of death. It doesn't have to be a person dying. All Is Lost in Jaws is the orca dies. The ship blows up. The engine basically blows up. Now they're stranded. They can't swim to shore because there's a shark. They can't move the boat anymore. The boat's now taking on water, and
they can't call anybody either.
They can't call anybody because Quint beat the shit out of the radio. They're fucked.
And the shark attacked the boat.
They're fucked. They're fucked. They're literally all sitting on like the dock part, of the boat, the deck, and Hooper, Dreyfus, is just sort of staring off like Roy Scheider is Brody. He's just standing there. I don't know what the fuck to do. And then Quint comes out with the life jackets. Now remember, he already said in the speech, the Indianapolis speech, he'll never put on a life jacket again. He throws the life jackets to the other two.
Hmm.
And he zips up his jacket and he just sort of sits there with his arms crossed. All three of them are fucked. They don't know what they're going to do, right? Now that's the dark night of the soul. What are we going to do to get out of this, right? In this film, it's only about 30 seconds because Quint then says to Hooper, Hooper, what can you do with this equipment of yours? No, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. But he says, Hooper, what can we do with this equipment of yours? And Hooper tells him, well, if I can get inside of this cage, I can maybe stick him with some poison and blah, blah, blah. Now, remember, people say, well, that's Quint, not Brody jumping into Act 3. I thought this was Brody's story. And it is, because what does Brody say? That shark will eat that cage apart, right? He's already given up on that. That's not going to work. And Hooper turns around and says, you got any better suggestions? The very next shot, even John Williams' score picks up. Dun, 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 where they're building the cage. Right?
Yeah.
So we're now in Act 3. Writers, listen to me. Your Act 3 has 5 points. It is called the 5-point finale. And all good scripts have a 5-point finale. Because most people think, well, when I get in Act 3, the bad guy kills the good guy. Oh, sorry. Scratch that. that blue curacao is kicking in already. The good guy kills the bad guy, and the movie's over. No. To make it interesting, you need to have a 5-point finale. I'm going to read them off to you. Are you ready?
Go.
Part 1, gathering the team. Right? It's usually in the movie, a lot of action films have this, where they're like, they get all the guys together, and they're gearing up their guns, right? And they're putting Commando, Schwarzenegger in Commando, getting off the beach, putting on the vest, zipping it up, cocking all his guns, putting on the paint. That's gathering the team, right? In this film, they're building the cage. Executing the plan. Point number 2 of your 5-point finale. Hooper is in the cage. He's ready to stick the shark with the poison. That's the plan. Okay? 3rd point, high tower surprise. Your plan has now gone to shit. Okay? So, in Commando, he gets found out too early. They see him and all the alarms are going off. He's like, shit, they're going to kill my daughter now that they know I'm here, right? Just to jump back to that one real quick. Anyway, high tower surprise. The shark makes quick work of that cage, by the way.
Oh, straight away.
Right. Presumably kills Hooper. He does kill Quint. That's the high tower surprise for Brody, because now his 2 people that he expected to solve this problem are now dead, or presumably dead, right? One of them.
One for sure.
One for sure that he watched in front of him. So now you have your 4th point, which is the dig down deep moment. That's where John McClane in Die Hard, the high tower surprise is, fuck, I'm out of bullets. I got 2 bullets left, and the guys that were here to help me, the FBI guys, are dead. You know, shit, what do I do? Dig down deep. Figure out a way. He sees the tape that says season greetings on it. I got it. I'll tape the gun to my back. That's right. That's his dig down deep. Brody, just in fear of trying to save his own life, tries to hit the shark in the face with the air tank, and he throws it in his mouth. And he remembers, wait a minute, these things are sensitive. They could blow up.
Which I think he got told twice. I feel like twice he was like, oh, don't touch that because they could explode. Don't touch that because it could explode.
You would be surprised. You would be surprised how many times those tanks actually appear. When they're flipping through the book earlier, there's a picture of a shark with a tank in his mouth.
Oh, wow.
And then as they flip through the pages more, when Brody's like really researching, there's a shot of sharks that are attacking a boat, and all the divers have the tanks on. They keep showing the tanks over and over. In fact, that picture you have up right there of Quint dying, how did he fall down there? He went to grab onto the ledge, and that tank rolled over onto his fingers.
Boom.
And he's all, ah! And he lets go, and that's what slides him down into the death spot. So the tank is brought up a lot. Yes, Hooper does give the, damn it, Brody, you mess with these and they're going to blow up. This is compressed air. So yeah, that's Spielberg's way of constantly just shoehorning this into the script any chance he can get so that the audience is ready for the tank is now in the shark's mouth. That's his dig down deep. He's got nobody left. He's forced to do something. Fifth point, execution of the new plan. He knows what the new plan is now. He's gearing up his rifle. He grabs a little poker and he's climbing to the top, right, of that mast.
There it
So,
is.
right, there you go. So that's the execution of the new plan. And that's the climax. The execution of the new plan is your climax. Shark's coming at him. Smile, you son of a bitch. Boom! Blows its head off. Now, after the climax, obviously after the crowd's cheering, yeah, what a great movie.
Yeah.
You have your resolution. Yes, you have your resolution. Okay? That comes and it's Brody achieves his spiritual goal. He finally stopped avoiding responsibility and dealt with the shark himself. He was forced to deal with the shark himself. And that's what a lot of times your main character, by the end, they are forced into dealing with their spiritual goal. They avoid it the whole movie. And they get it at the end. Flight, Denzel Washington, another textbook script they could teach in schools, right? If you've ever seen Flight, he's an alcoholic. He saves the lives of this plane crash, but he was drunk and high when he did it. So he's afraid I'm going to lose my license. They're going to blame me for the people that did die, even though I did a miracle Sully type of move to save the lives of everybody else. But what is his spiritual goal? Was to get clean. He does confess at the end, and they put him in jail. But that's what he needed. That was his spiritual goal. Sorry, I should have said spoiler alert for anyone.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We just spoiled
Sorry,
I
just fucking ruined it. Anyway, so yeah, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Flight. But watch it. Screenwriters watch it for this reason. At the end, when he finally has his moment of truth, you know, they're trying to pin the alcohol that's missing on the stewardess, and he's all, Trina didn't drink the vodka because I drank the vodka. And he comes out and he starts confessing everything. They throw him in jail, and the resolution is his son actually wants to meet him again because his son has disowned him because he's a drunk. But now he got his spiritual goal. I'm in jail, but I'm clean, and I get to repair my relationship with my son. Here's the point. Does your main character change? Meaning, if you were to pull your main character out of the end of the film and put him at the beginning, are they making different choices? Right? Denzel in Flight is a completely different person. Brody, if you were to tell him at the beginning of the movie, you're going to shoot a shark tank, or you're going to shoot a tank to blow up a shark's head, by the way, if you miss, you're dead.
Right.
He would have been like, fuck no, I'm not. I don't want nothing to do with that.
Get the deputy to do it.
Right. Let me get anybody else.
Yeah.
Anybody else. He spent the whole movie avoiding this responsibility. He's forced to deal with it at the end. It's a great shot you got up, by the way, because that's him dealing with his spiritual goal. Final image, above the sea, danger has been defeated, and they swim back to shore happily. Mirror flip of the opening image.
Even though it was the fourth shot, I think it was the fourth shot he tried to
Was it fourth? I think it was,
Right, but if it happens on the first shot, that's lame, right? You need the conflict.
Yeah.
You need the conflict of, I'm down to my last bullet, and this thing is raging on me, and I keep missing. I got one more shot. They do something. Go ahead.
I was perplexed about that scene, because is that a bolt action rifle?
Chris, do not get technical.
Because I didn't see him putting new bullets in.
Nobody wants to hear your bullshit. All right.
Just saying, man. I'm looking at it going, that looks like a bolt action. That's
he used the wrong gun. He used the wrong rifle to do this.
If you think that's
one
bad,
star.
If you think that's bad, there's a personal vendetta a lot of fans have with Mythbusters.
Oh yeah.
Because it turns out tanks don't explode when you shoot them.
Well, regular compressed air, right? But if it was an oxygen tank, that's different.
Well, the Mythbusters apparently tried it, and it didn't blow up. So here's my problem. Fuck Mythbusters, right? Because how dare you ruin our childhood with this shit? In fact, another podcast, I want to say it was those Writers Blockbusters guys talked about that. It was like such a letdown that Mythbusters ruined it.
Yeah. Hey, we should give them a shout out. So a podcast, I don't know if you ever heard of these guys.
Writers Blockbusters podcast. It's
these guys are
Bob
screenwriters.
Rose.
Yeah, these guys are screenwriters, and they're it's a great podcast. And we found them after we started ours. And I try not to listen to the shows if we're about to do, because they just do Jaws. this year?
No, they did Jaws a while ago, but what they
Okay.
did, what turned us onto it, is we had just done our Silence of the Lambs episode, and so did they.
Holy
So
shit! Yeah,
we
they
found it.
August the 27th. They dropped it.
Yeah, and we recorded ours before we listened to that, thankfully. Because
By
I
the
didn't
way-
want to be influenced. But
By the way, we're firing up number 2 here.
yeah, Lee,
I
I
don't
should
know-
ask, how long do your podcasts usually go? And you know, I mean,
And do you mind cutting this up into like 5
afternoon
episodes?
is your afternoon free?
Usually when I'm by myself, the episode goes for about 45 minutes. But
Okay.
the longest I've done an episode with a guest, I think we did 2.5 hours.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Get
well,
ready,
I
get
know.
ready to break your record.
Well, I can say this: the next one, we shouldn't spend nearly as long on.
No, the next one.
No.
So, but anyway, I'm gonna go through some trivia first.
Oh,
So,
wait! Before we do the trivia, to
yeah.
let the listener and the viewers know, what something we do on our podcast, and we're going to do it at the end of this one.
Yes.
I just want to throw this teaser out because we always do this game of 6 degrees of separation, where we pick 2 actors that were in both one from each of the movies, and my brother will try to figure out if you can connect these 2 actors by connecting them to other actors that were in movies with them within 6 degrees, 6 movies. But the trick is, the caveat is, we can't use the 2 movies that we're talking about today. So
Right.
he'll have to pick movies that they were in. And there's a special twist for today. I haven't told my brother which 2 actors I've picked. I haven't
He's gonna,
told
ma-
Lee
he's gonna
either.
make me do it on the spot.
Do it on the spot.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
normally on our show, I'll tell him the night before, even the day of, and he'll look it up and he'll figure it out before the show
because
starts.
remember, here's the thing. Before you say, well, that's cheating. This isn't Stump Jerome, all right?
Right,
The
right.
6 degrees is we just want to see, are there 2 actors that can't be connected? Now, this all started from the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon game, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Hey, he's the best smelling actor today.
That was good. That was good. But because of that game, and by the way, those guys that created that book, that wrote that book, The 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, where any actor can be connected with Kevin Bacon within 6 degrees, a degree being a film connection. They use directors and they use TV shows. We don't use none of that shit. You have to be on screen in a feature-length film.
Yeah, on the big screen.
On the big screen to be included.
Which is fairer.
Which is fair, and which makes it a little bit more difficult. And again, like my brother said, we can't use the films that we're talking about today. So I have
So
to
we
pick-
added
Hey,
a level of difficulty.
so-
Normally, you would use any film that was on the big screen. But
Our most famous connection is Charlie Chaplin to Carrot Top. Those actually connect within 6 degrees. In fact, I think it's in 4, isn't
I
it?
think you did it in 4. Yeah. Charlie Chaplin to Carrot Top.
So. Because I know you want to know, Lee, so I'll just tell you.
I do.
So Charlie Chaplin's last film was called The Countess of Hong Kong with Marlon Brando, which Chaplin also directed, but he appears in the film as well. Marlon Brando was in The Godfather with Al Pacino. So Countess of Hong Kong, The Godfather. Pacino is in is it And Justice for All with Jack Warden? Jack Warden is in Chairman of the Board with Carrot Top.
God damn.
Yeah, so we're gonna do that game. I haven't told my brother, and
Yeah, so now he's going to make me do this one on the fly like I'm some friggin' expert.
now I told him
Yeah.
he can look at IMDb if he needs to, which I think I would have to look just to see what
I
other
don't like
movies they
you.
were
I
in.
don't-
So
Yeah, okay. So we'll try that. But anyway, so let me
Yeah.
do some quick trivia before we move on to the shit version of Jaws. So just my opinion about Brody being lazy, but if you read the book, okay, so there is a book written by Peter Benchley called Jaws, and it was loosely inspired by Peter Benchley's interest in this fisherman named Frank Mundus from Montauk, New York, right? So he investigated his exploits and everything. He's a big fisherman, and that's how he got the inspiration for Jaws. They struggled with the name. The publisher Doubleday, they wanted to call it like Jaws of Death or Jaws of Danger and all this shit, and they finally just settled on Jaws in the end of it. But in the book, there's a lot of crazy shit which really speaks to Brody's laziness. First of all, Ellen, his wife, she has an affair with Hooper when he comes into town. So,
shit.
yeah, Dreyfuss's character. Right. They have an affair.
Oh wow.
And none of that shit made it into the script, obviously.
Nah.
But there's also other crazy shit about, like, there's a mob influence, that the mob owns the town. So when the shark is threatening, when Brody wants to close the beaches, it's not just the mayor saying we depend on these dollars. The mob starts to give pressure to Brody.
Oops.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, yo, you know, you're going to sleep with the fishes, you know, like whatever. Yeah.
There's a shark. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, we know he's on the payroll. So anyway, so Brody's laziness is kind of what drives, because when Hooper comes into town, he's young, he's rich, he's a guy that likes to take action and get things done, and that's what drives Ellen to him, because her husband's a lazy, avoid responsibility slug, right? So anyway, so that's the book. But anyway, there's a lot that was cut out, obviously.
Hang on, really quick. I gotta mix my second one. Thank you. Hold on, wait. It's so sweet. I gotta cut it with some soda water because I'm a wimp. It's just sweet. I don't like sweet.
Because I'm out of ice, I'm switching to beer after this.
Oh, I don't mix. Ugh.
By the way, he always has the thing about mixing. I don't have a problem with mixing. I can mix shit all day long. I don't care. I have Irish, Scottish, and German blood.
Yeah, you're built for it.
Irish, Scottish, German blood. That's 1.8%.
Yes,
already.
Yes. All right, are you ready? One last trivia before we move on. Oh no, I have a couple more trivia. So there is a funny story about when they were shooting Jaws, the shark kept not working. Right? They had to try to get it to work. It wasn't working. There you go.
There you go. That's a great picture.
They built several sharks, by the way, for the many different shots. But there's at one point the set of the Orca was sinking. And the sound department guy had to hold up like the Nagra, which records the sound, and he's holding it over his head as he's like waist deep in water. And everybody is rushing to the set to get the actors off. Like, oh, Mr. Dreyfuss, Mr. Scheider, let's get Mr. Shaw. And the guy with the holding his head, he's like, fuck the actors, save the sound department. Because if you lose the Nagra, you lose all the shit you just recorded. So that's a nice little Spielberg anecdote there. He told that story. Let me see. I got a couple other ones here real quick. In the closing credits, you'll see Michael Chapman's name as a camera operator. He was also the camera operator in The Godfather. You see his name in the closing credits of The Godfather. He went on to be an Oscar-nominated cinematographer. He did Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, The Lost Boys, and The Fugitive.
Wow.
A couple other fun little trivia tidbits. Alex Kintner was played by an actor named Jeffrey Voorhees. Of course, 5 years later, a character named Voorhees of Friday the 13th fame was a child who also died in the water.
Wow.
In the film Bad Santa, the uncrackable safe that Billy Bob Thornton's character Willie is tasked to open is called the Kintner Boy Readout, a little homage to Jaws. When Mayor Vaughn says, I, for one, will not stand here and watch that shark cut open and see that damn Kintner boy spill out all over the dock. So anyway, also filmmaker Bryan Singer, his production company is called Bad Hat Harry Productions, an homage to the line in Jaws where Brody says to the old guy on the beach, that's some bad hat, Harry. So that's my trivia for Jaws. Now, before we move on, you see the script structure and the beats, right?
Yes.
Okay. Jaws 4 does none of that shit. None of that shit happens.
Before we get forward to Jaws, I've actually still got one trivia, which I thought was, looking on IMDb, which was interesting, was that Jaws was originally, Steven Spielberg was not the director of Jaws at the very start. The first director was Dick Richards, who was fired after meeting with the producers and the studio executives. In the meeting, he said that his opening shot would have been the camera come out of the water to show the town. Then the whale, instead of the shark, would come out of the water. The producers said that they would not make him Moby Dick, and they would not work with someone who did not know the difference between a whale and a shark.
Wow.
Which is probably why Spielberg was concerned, knowing someone else was already fired.
Now,
He's probably next.
Now, what's funny is that, hold on to that piece of nugget there, because we're going to talk about it in Jaws 4 with this shark POV shit. where in Jaws 4, the shark's POV keeps coming out of the water like it's looking around and then goes back into the water.
Right.
Now, it's really the camera, the director's choice
yeah.
to show the audience what the shark sees. They do it several times in the movie.
Looking around.
How many sharks pick their head up out of the water like, yeah, this looks about right.
Oh,
That's good. Yeah, that's where I am. And then puts his head back down. They do
Yes.
it several times.
Yeah. There's so much about this movie.
All right. Are we ready to crack into it? Or
Yeah, let's crack into it. Let's crack into
all right.
something terrible, which
All right.
Oh,
Jaws
my
the
God.
Now
Revenge.
now you know what it takes to write a good script. Now I'm going to tell you all the things to avoid.
With-
Okay.
Well, let's set the scene for probably most people haven't seen this like me until yesterday.
Nah.
So, what's Jaws 4 The Revenge about?
So Jaws 4 The Revenge, first of all, Lee, you want to take this? You got the log line there?
Yeah, you
I got the log
you
line. So, Jaws
Let's
the
have the log line.
Revenge. Chief Brody's widow believes that her family is deliberately being targeted by another shark in search of revenge.
Yeah. And she's right, apparently.
Yeah, yes.
So, so by the way, a lot of people don't realize this. Well, maybe they do realize and they just don't care. All Jaws films center on this family, even Jaws 3. So Jaws 1 and 2 obviously is Chief Brody dealing with a shark. Jaws 3 is the kids have grown up. And one of them, the oldest one, who in Jaws 4 is played by Lance Guest as a marine biologist, is played by Dennis Quaid in the third film. That's Michael Brody. He's a marine biologist.
Mm-hmm.
And the younger brother, Sean, is the doofus in Jaws 3, who's got, I think he's Leah Thompson, plays his girlfriend.
Was that Leah Thompson? How did I miss that?
That was Jaws 3, though.
Oh, Jaws 3, yeah.
Yeah, Jaws 3. So Jaws 4 is kind of a continuation. The sons are older again, only now Sean is a cop. He might have been a cop in Jaws 3 and just like on vacation. I don't remember. But he's a cop in Jaws 4. And the older brother's still a marine biologist, only now he lives down in the Bahamas.
He's not just a cop, but he's a cop on the same island where his dad was a cop.
Yes, he's basically the new Chief Brody. Okay. And the mom lives there because she's lived there, since they moved there. And yes, so it starts with the opening image under the water again, right? Again, just a real contrast. So we talked about the opening and closing image in Jaws, how they're complete opposites of each other. But they have meaning, right? One's below the water, danger. One's above the water, no danger. Here's your opening and closing image of Jaws 4. Opening image is under the water, again, danger. Dun, 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 dun. The closing image is they're all getting on a plane.
Okay.
Yeah. That's nothing to do with the opening image. So
No.
whatever. Director's choice. So we intro to Sean and Ellen establishing the family. They do all this shit, where they're establishing the family dynamic. The older brother lives in the Bahamas with his daughter and blah, blah, blah. Here's about the time you'd have a theme stated, right? I can't think of any moment where there's a theme stated to Ellen Brody, who, by the way, appears to be the lead. And this will be important later when she's not the lead anymore. But she appears to be the lead. And there's no theme. That at one point, the youngest son calls her a slave driver, which might set up a theme, but there's no follow up to it. So that can't be the theme. So, I wrote here that might work if the whole movie she was a demanding person, right? Because that might fit with that theme and that arc. But she's not ever demanding, so It doesn't work. Yeah. So the emotional shift of not being so bossy, she isn't. Ellen is just Ellen. No problems that need fixing. No themes stated. I wrote that down. Inciting incident. Sean goes to fix an issue in the water and he's attacked and killed by the shark. All right.
The cute little boy from the first Jaws movie that the Brody was making faces at with his little boy.
Yes.
Cute little kid. They make him get eaten by a shark. Yeah. Like what, 5 minutes? I forget how many minutes it was, but he was gone.
I feel like when they made the movie Lake Placid, they stole scenes from this movie because every time somebody leans over a boat in Lake Placid, the crocodile comes up and takes off a head or an arm or something, and that's precisely what happens here. To think that somebody would steal from Jaws 4. that's the stretch.
And for anyone who's watching and listening, at the point, if you're watching it and you've just seen this scene, this is where you click off. This is where you should have turned off.
Yeah.
Just save yourself some time.
How terrible that special effects was. And he's like, and he gets delayed too. He's like, oh.
Yeah,
I gotta say though, it was fun watching a horrible movie.
The shark, as I said, lifts his head above water and says, "Oh, there's the boat I want to attack," and then goes back under the water again. Like he has to look.
Like a periscope.
Right. Like a periscope. This shark has a built-in periscope, by the way. All right. So the second act, you would think the break into two starts with her going to the Bahamas. But remember, the second act is supposed to be your log line. And her going to the Bahamas, she doesn't think anything that the shark is after them yet. In fact, here's the stupidest part. The older brother comes up for the funeral, which, by the way, there's a lot of stupid shit that happens between them and so, like, Michael's walking on the beach with his wife, and he starts talking about his brother Sean, and then he just runs.
Yeah,
he just takes off. Like, is this
what are you doing?
The emotional moment? Is this
when
supposed
she
to
says
be?
She's like, "Where are you going?"
Yeah, where are you going? He's just sprinting. Like, we don't know what he's running to, and the sound effects is his feet are hitting like tile floor, but he's running on a beach. But he's just running. Yeah. Like, not running and crying, like, oh, I can't even tell the story about my brother. Just running. Just running for no.
Well, and the whole idea of them taking mom to the Bahamas after her son was just killed by a shark. I'd be like, let's take mom to the desert. Let's get her out of the. Let's get her away from the water.
But no, let's go to another beach.
So I actually wrote that down. If Act 2 is supposed to be that Chief Brody's widow believes her family is deliberately being targeted by another shark, that none of that happens there. In fact, when they say, "Why don't you come to the Bahamas for us?" she literally goes, "No, I can't leave here." And they go, "Please," and she goes, "Okay,
sure. Let's go to more water."
Like, that's like the director on set going, "All right, we got to speed this up here. Just fucking say yes and let's get on with it." So, yeah, there's no pushback at all. No. Quite a reversal. By contrast, Jaws 1's log line, when a killer shark terrorizes the beach community, it's up to local sheriff to hunt down the beast. Boom. We jump into Act 2 when the shark becomes a problem. I wrote here, Jaws 4? No.
She leaves.
Yeah. So there are moments too that are supposed to be dramatic that come off as funny. Here's what I wrote down. Michael's running on the beach when Carla asks, "Where are you going?" She has no idea. What else did I write here?
Well, that's the thing, because it wasn't just a bad script. I mean, arguably some pretty good actors that have had good
phoned it in.
They phoned it in. So, I mean, that tells me though, the director wasn't trying to pull a good performance out of them either.
We'll get to his interview after, but Ellen. So Ellen gets on the ferry, right, to go to head to the Bahamas, to go to the airport to head to the Bahamas, and just out of control, just starts sobbing and crying hysterically, and nobody does anything, or says anything, or tries to comfort her. She's laughing with the granddaughter, and nobody fucking says anything. She just sort of trails off by herself. Yeah. And it's uncomfortable. It is.
Yeah.
What? It's not Lorraine Gary's finest acting, that's for sure.
No, and it's her last acting.
Yeah, that's right. She has not been in a movie since Jaws 4.
Nope.
But anyway. So they get to the Bahamas. Intro to Hoagie, played by Michael Caine, who's presumably the B story, right? The love interest, supposed to take some pressure off of the main character, so he's the B story. He's supposed to drive her. He drives Ellen to her spiritual goal. Just kidding. Ellen doesn't have a spiritual goal. But but Hoagie is in fact a really bad pilot, right?
Yeah.
He's a pilot, but he's fucking reckless. Like, he does all this crazy shit. Here, let me grab the granddaughter. Here, fly the plane. Like,
and we gotta eventually. I mean, we're gonna probably talk about him landing on the water where a shark attack just happened.
Don't worry, that's gonna happen later. He lands on the water in a boat not equipped to land on water, like he's fucking Sully, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, but again, him having this recklessness, could be part of his character arc, right? Just kidding. He doesn't have a character.
Nah.
So a couple other things are going on here to make it hard to determine if this is Act 2 or not. I wrote down. Ellen scolds the children for playing near the water. She's also terrified that Michael's wife's sculpture, which, by the way, from one angle looks like a shark, and from another angle looks like a large metal vagina.
Oh no!
So it's how the camera is like, ooh, it's a shark, and then they shoot it from behind. It's like, that's not a shark, that's a vagina.
That's what I thought too. I was like, she's like, oh, it's a shark. I'm like, that's a weird. Yeah, all right. I guess
that's like a guy looking at it going, yeah, I see a shark already.
100% Shark Week. I could see it.
That's so weird.
There's blood in the water. And then of course there's this moments where she wakes up in a cold sweat, which, by the way, anyone that's woken up in a cold sweat, this is ridiculous. She wakes up almost like they dumped water on her and said, yelled action. Like she's completely doused. More doused than Ripley in Aliens when she wakes up from her nightmares, which I always thought that was bad in that movie. As much as I love Aliens, nobody's ever that soaking wet. Like, I mean, I get the point you're trying to make, but
which is actually funny because Michael Caine, when he got out of the water after he landed the plane,
his shirt is dry.
His shirt's dry, and I didn't notice it until I saw, like, the scene had just happened, and I saw it. And then I was looking on IMDb and I saw the trivia, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so hilarious.
Don't worry, wewe're gonna get to that. There's way more problems than just that.
Did you see where it said after that too? The reason why he was dry?
Yeah,
because it was taking so long to shoot,
and takes took too long. He dried standing there.
Dried.
He was off shooting another movie by the time they said, "All right, you need to come back and finish the shot."
Yeah.
So, all right. So now Mario Van Peebles is introduced as Michael's biologist partner, Jake. For some reason, he's in a real big hurry when we meet him. Okay, that's never explained and never talked about. But his very first scene, Michael's at the bottom in that little thing, right? They're doing like research on the bottom of the ocean. And for some reason, Jake is come on, man, Michael, man, let's go, man, hurry up, man. Like, what the fuck? Why are you in such a hurry? They don't say anything about maybe you're running out of air.
Bad Jamaican accent that was.
Yeah, and it's like,
I thought it was all right.
I guess.
So if you're like, okay, we're gonna set up that maybe there's tension here, like he's running out of air. That would be one thing. That's not happening here. It could be we have a visit coming from the people that are paying our grant. Which, by the way, he says in the Amity, he's like, I can't move up here. We just got grant money.
Yeah.
We need to continue our research. But when you get to Bahamas, he's all, we're out of money. What are we gonna do now? You just fucking said you just got a grant. But anyway, that doesn't matter. That's a plot point. That doesn't happen here. All right. So there's no reason why he's in a big hurry. And of course, we're pulled out of the scene by how bad his Jamaican accent is. Oh, by the way, I noticed at this point, we've already had characters stare off to the ocean 7 times.
Yes.
That picture you have up right now, that happens 7 times before we even get to this point. Where they're just like,
water.
I'm looking at
Oh my God.
There's something out there. By contrast, Jaws 1 does it once. And it's when he first finds Chrissy. That's the only time he turns and stares like pensively or thoughtfully out to the ocean. That's it. It doesn't happen after that. The only other times that people look at the ocean in Jaws is when they're hunting the shark. But in this film, 7 times. By the way, we haven't even hit the log line yet. She doesn't even. She's in the Bahamas now. She's safe, right? And we've got 7 times where people are staring off into the ocean. All right. Still in Act 1. Jake and Michael talk about how they need money, right? I just talked about that. How do they need money? He just said they got a grant. Hoagie takes Ellen to an outdoor festival called the Junkanoo, where people are singing and dancing in the streets with costumes. And Ellen pulls a complete 180 on her tangible and spiritual goals. Just kidding. She doesn't have any spiritual or tangible goals. One moment she tells Hoagie her belief that the shark is after her family. She tells him in that scene. By the way, she has no proof that the shark is even there yet. Okay. But then he says, one moment they dance a little bit and then she's over it like that. She's just literally over it. She learns to just let it go within a moment. Right? Quite the character growth.
Mm.
All right, so 35 minutes in now, which is late for an hour and a half movie to be jumping into any sense of Act 2, if there is a sense of Act 2. We reach what could only be described as breaking into two, and the main character realizes the promise of the premise, which is he realizes the shark is indeed in the Bahamas for the revenge. Before we get to that moment, they literally shoot a shot of the shark traveling to the Bahamas.
Mm.
Like, he might as well have luggage. He might as well have, his fucking carry-on bag. They show the shark swimming like, I'm going to the Bahamas. I'm going to the Bahamas.
I know where you are. For some reason,
I'm
I know
going
where you are.
I don't know how I know. I just fucking know. You're just in the Bahamas. I overheard you the last time I stuck my head above water to look around. I heard you say you're going to the Bahamas.
This is what I mean. This is what I mean, though. Watching a horrible movie like this, it's actually fun. Get some buddies, put it on, and just laugh at it because you know what I mean? So you can have a good time with a horrible movie like this.
So here's now for real script structure problems. Ellen now basically disappears. She's in like 2 scenes until you get to the end of the film. It's now Michael's story. The shark attacks Michael and Jake, and he's like, oh my God, look how fake that looks.
I know, that's what I mean.
Like, look at the gums on that thing. You guys, you know what I'm talking about, right? You all met that one girl that's got more gums than teeth. That's that shark. That's the shark. All right. That's that girl. Look at her. She's smiling. All right. So, I'm just kidding. There's guys like that too. I don't mean to pick on you ladies. Yeah. There are guys that have more gums than teeth.
Yeah, butthead.
That's how they smile. Exactly, butthead. All right. So now, again, now it's Michael's story. Now he and Jake, Mario Van Peebles, are trying to figure out, oh man, now we have to research the shark, man. Now we'll sell this for money. Now that'll solve our money problems. The money problems you didn't fucking have because you just got a grant. But okay, fine, whatever. You have money problems. You spend it all on, hookers and cocaine, whatever. And now,
what else do you do in the Bahamas?
Right. And now you got to study a shark that just attacked your boat, and you're not going to tell mom about it because that would worry her. But whatever.
He says that too. He's like, oh, don't tell my mom. Don't tell her.
Yeah. Don't tell my mom. This shark followed us from fucking Amity Island.
And ate my brother.
And ate my brother, but don't tell mom.
Yeah, it's back.
Okay, so, and then there's these 2 weird scenes. Michael's irritated that Hoagie is hanging out with the mom. Like he's almost like he's jealous, like in sort of like in what is that? The Oedipus thing, syndrome.
I'm not calling him dad.
Right. Like just like, why is he taking you out? Like you should be happy. Your mother is going through a traumatic moment, and now this guy who can't fly a plane properly wants to take her dancing. Let her take her, let him take her dancing. What the fuck? And then there's this weird casino scene, and that's where Ellen has full-on achieved her spiritual goal of letting go and admitting that there's no shark. Just kidding. She doesn't have a spiritual goal. But in that scene, she's like accepting, like, yes, I was crazy this whole time. There's no shark following us, even though it is there. Michael knows, but he's not telling her. Right. The son knows, but he's not telling her. Okay. There's no false victory or false defeat at the midpoint scene. They just sort of changed their plans to study the shark. Now it's Michael's story and not Ellen's. So the second half of the film now, actually, I wrote this down. Anyways, we're now in the second half of the film, I guess. And it's day 1 of shark studying. They stick with the sonar equipment, right? They stick the shark with the sonar equipment, which is important because I'll give it this one prop to Jaws 4, and this is a stretch that I'm even giving this as a prop. But John Williams in the first movie, you always knew the shark was near because of the dun 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 dun.
Right.
This didn't want to copy that for obvious reasons. They wanted to try to be original and new. So by sticking the shark with the sonar, you hear the shark's heartbeat whenever it's close. So that is one attribute that they're like when the monitor starts going beep, 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 like, oh shit, it's like the motion trackers in Aliens, right? Like,
I was just about to say the same thing.
Yeah, it's coming, it's coming. Like,
and it was really effective in Aliens.
Yes, and Alien, actually. There's a motion tracker in Alien. Alien and Aliens. But so that's the one thing. That's what gives this movie an F plus instead of an F minus, is that they do have this one thing with the heartbeat that tells when the shark is coming. As shitty as that is. So, okay. So sonar equipment, this is meant to be the superior position for us as an audience. We know when the shark is coming. Day 2 of shark studying, we have our first jump scare. Keep in mind, this is a shark horror film.
Right.
And our first jump scare is 1 hour and 6 minutes in.
Shit.
And it's not even the shark. It's an eel that swims towards the camera.
Yeah.
They're trying to wake you up.
Yeah, exactly. They figured at this point you're asleep an hour in. So let's give them a jump scare.
I'm still watching the movie.
Michael presumably is the new protagonist now that mom has answered her climactic goal. I wrote, just kidding, she doesn't have one. Is now having and now Michael is having the nightmares. You see the switch now? Now Michael's having the nightmares, not Ellen. He's waking up in the cold sweat being doused with water. Okay, all is lost. Ellen is at Carla's presentation when she sees the shark for the first time. Keep in mind, you read the log line, right? The all is lost near the end of the film is the first time Ellen has seen the shark in the Bahamas.
Right.
Okay. He eats a swimmer. He scares Thea. This is great. The shark literally stands straight up out of the water so everyone can see him eat this dude. Right? Or is it a chick? I can't remember. I think it's a girl swimmer. Whatever. It's a victim. The shark literally stands up out of the water while it eats. Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
While it eats a person.
So my wife was in the other room. She didn't want to watch this, and she must have been cracking up at me because I'm laughing my ass off in the living room when all this is going down, and I'm like, oh my god, this is, and I'm yelling at the TV. So this is the fun you can have with some bros. Just get them together, put this on, and get ready.
Do a shot every time you laugh. That would be good.
Yeah, you can do a drinking game with this easily.
Drinking game. Do a shot every time you laugh. Okay, so now we have the Dark Night of the Soul. She's now at the All Is Lost. She sees the shark has followed her there, and it's a terror. All Dark Night of the Soul. She has to contemplate what she's going to do next. What does she do? She takes a boat and takes it out to sea. Why? We don't know. She doesn't have a gun. She doesn't have a bazooka. She doesn't have a hook to fish the shark. Nothing. She's just going to take a sailboat.
Hijack the boat.
But she's got a boat, and that's all you need. That's all you need.
Yes.
Right.
So it's almost like we are left to think that maybe her goal, if she had one, was maybe if I let this shark eat me, it'll save my family, right? It won't bother my family anymore. What it wants is me. It's here for revenge. Promise of the premise. It's here for revenge, and if I let it eat me, that came out dirty. That's Michael Caine's job. Then maybe the movie will be over. Okay, well, there's other weird things that are happening. So Thea's in shock, but she's resting at home. Contrast to when Michael was in shock in the first movie. Hang on, let me fix my headphones here. When Michael's in shock in the first movie, he goes to the hospital and he spends the night there. But now his daughter is in shock, and it's, just cuddle her up in front of the TV. We'll put on Moana. Everything will be fine. So good time to mention. Okay, so I put it here. Good time to mention the POV shots because here the shark again keeps lifting its head out of the water. Like, oh, there's Ellen. She took a boat. Well, I'll get right on that, right? So I'm gonna go after that boat now.
These last scene, are we in the last scenes yet? Because there's so many things.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right. So break into 3. 5-point finale. Are you ready?
Yes.
The end of the film, and it's gonna follow these 5 points. I hope.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
1, gathering the team. Yes, it does this. Michael gets Jake and Hoagie to go get mom. Right? They're gonna go get in a plane.
We're crash land on the water.
Yeah.
Wait, we're not there yet. We're not there. We haven't done Sully yet. Right now, we're just gathering the team, right? We're just getting the guys together. 2, execution of the plan. If the plan is to find Ellen, then yes, they do that. They land a plane on the water. It's not designed to land on water. And before they, I actually wrote this, before they get all Sully, Hoagie does this intentionally.
Yeah.
He literally says, "I'm going to land this on the water." You know, it's whatever. 3, Hightower surprise. The shark eats Hoagie's boat and presumably Hoagie. Certainly Jake, as he is seen in the shark's mouth. So Mario Van Peebles. Okay, this is possibly the worst part of the movie. Mario Van Peebles, right? Literally gets eaten by the shark. The shark has him in his mouth, is crunching him. There's blood spraying out. He's dead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
you would
The
think.
fact that he came back, I was laughing my
Yeah.
ass off.
Okay.
I'm like, come on.
How?
4, dig down deep. After Hoagie emerges from the water, I wrote this down, shirt completely dry, I might add. Michael
Yeah.
decides he will shock the shark into submission because of the thing that
Yeah.
Jake put into his throat right before he died. By the way, he's back to being the lead again because Ellen is just ballast now on the ship. She's just on the ship. She's not doing anything. Michael's
Right.
now back to being the lead, and he's going to shark the shark. He's going to shark. My God.
Shock the shark.
He's going to shock the shark. This
Yeah.
sharkarita is hitting me a little too hard. So,
Which for anyone
execution
who's
of the-
listening, these sharkaritas look so good.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Sharkaritas.
So mine's
Okay.
mostly tastes like lemonade, but I'm afraid to see what my poop's
Mine tastes like tequila.
probably blue.
All right.
Yeah.
So, execution of the
Avatar.
new plan. The shark appears to roar like a lion every time Michael shocks it. It sticks its head out of the water going, roar.
Which that
You got some
roar.
trivia on that, Lee?
Yep, that roar is actually they didn't re-record or use anything from the original film. It's actually from a Tom and Jerry's episode.
Cartoon?
How lazy they were to do it.
That's hilarious.
Okay, so here's an important part. Part 5 of the execution of the 5-point finale, execution of the new plan. Now, while the shark is roaring, Ellen now becomes the main character again because she's now like, I'm going to steer this boat into the shark. Somehow she knows it's going to stand up out of the water again, so she can spear it with the front of the boat. I don't know, but anyway,
Perfect spot.
right. So in the climax, Michael shocks the shark and stands up clear out of the water.
Yeah.
And just so the broken bow spirit, which was broken when Jake was eaten, impales him, right? She stabs the shark with the boat. And then it appears to explode.
Yeah. I don't know why it exploded. I'm like, shouldn't it just be, shivved and like just there dead?
It just blows up.
Why'd it go boom?
It blows up for no reason at all. So here's the funny part too, like leading up to that. The smile you son of a bitch flashback comes back to Ellen
Yeah.
as she's about to impale the shark. But wait,
Yeah, right.
it gets better. It gets better.
It wasn't a
There
first
is-
flashback.
Wait. It's better than that. There is an original ending on YouTube. You can find it. And in that moment, she has flashbacks of scenes that she's in Jaws 1, where she is running to little Sean's aid.
Yeah.
And then there's a flashback of her in Jaws 2 where she's holding the one swimmer that got attacked, nurturing her.
Okay.
They replaced those. They replaced them with flashbacks of scenes she's not in.
Yeah.
She has a flashback of her oldest son, Sean, being eaten by the shark. She's not there. She doesn't know how that happened. And then there's another flashback of Smile, you son of a bitch. She wasn't there.
How did
We
she know
were.
he said that?
How does she flashback to a scene she's not fucking in?
Yeah. That's
Magic. Something
then
to do with
Talk-
this.
magic,
about, man.
movie magic. And then she impales the shark, and it blows up. And then if you want to talk laziness, the shot. Oh, my headphones keep sliding.
Are you gonna talk about the painted? Are you gonna talk about the painted? Are you gonna talk about the painted sky and the fact that they're in a pool?
No. Whoa, wait. No, this is way worse than that. The shot they use of the shark's blown off head sinking to the bottom of the ocean is the shot from Jaws 1.
It's the same shot.
It's the same shot.
It is
They
too.
just stole it. And before you say, well, how can they do that? Well, because the production company owns the rights to Jaws 1, not Spielberg. So they're allowed to do whatever the fuck they want. And they literally took the shot from Jaws 1 and implanted it here as the shark is drifting to the bottom of the odor, minus head. Now, that might have been, that's why the shark blew up, by the way, because they're like, how are we going to make that shot work? Because the shark from Jaws 1 had his head exploded. And they're like, well, when you impale a shark with the front of the boat, it's common knowledge that their heads explode.
Oh,
so
I
let's
didn't
just
know that.
do that.
Right.
Right? All right. So, resolution. Jake survived. Mario Van Peebles comes out of the water. No shark bites at
Right.
all.
Fine. Absolutely fine.
Just, he's all, help me, man. I'm sinking, man. I can't swim, man. Whatever. And they save him. I even wrote, Jake survived how? Who the fuck knows? I wrote that down as a note. And he has no wounds on his chest. There's some playful banter, and then Ellen goes back to Amity. She said that's how it ends, is she's getting on the plane. So character arc.
What character?
Plot structure. Script structure, emotional shifts. Tangible and spiritual goals.
But as a drinking game, from laughing every time you take a shot, every time you laugh, I give it 5 stars.
So
Win.
writers,
Win.
so you aspiring writers, if you really want to know what makes the script good and what makes the script bad, just watch these 2 movies, just back to back. But yes, make Jaws 4 into a drinking game. So, all right, so I have some trivia on this too. All right. Okay, so I actually mentioned one of them, that was the flashbacks. They actually
Hold on, before you get to trivia, you didn't even mention, I said something about the painted sky. That was so obvious to me. In that one of those final scenes, they're in the water, and they show the sky, and it was like, because they had just shown a sky that looked like a real sky. Then they show this painting hanging up in the sky, and you could tell the water looks like it's in a pool. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh.
I mean, but why not? We've gotten to this point, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
We've made it this far. We need to release this.
Yeah. By far, before I get to any more trivia, by far my favorite shot is the shark traveling to the Bahamas. They actually have a shot of the shark just, I'm going to the Bahamas.
Going down the East Coast.
Yeah. It would have been so much better if he had luggage with him, like
that's right,
strapped to his back. You know, like that would have been great.
On his back, ready to go.
So, director Joseph Sargent said in an interview at the time, of course, he said this: everyone knew it was a ridiculous premise, but because they had just come off of Jaws 3D, and the studio was dying for something, right? They had nothing in the tank, no pun intended. They had nothing to like put out there. So they're like, well, let's reboot Jaws. So they go to this guy, this Joseph Sargent, and they're like, all right, we need to come up with something. We have to make another Jaws movie, but we want it to be different and fresh and new. So they came up with the idea that the shark follows the mom from Amity Island down to the Bahamas. And you know what the director says? Okay. Like he knows it's a shit idea. Yeah. He knows it's ridiculous, but he's like, but we weren't going with that. We were going with something mystical and fantasy and something that's different from the other films. So that's why we did that. Yeah. Lorraine Gary also admitted she only did it for the money. Michael Caine, of course, the famous line where he, I'd never seen the film, but I saw the house that it built. Yep. So this really needs to be a lesson to writers. Man, what? Look no further than these 2 films, really.
So far on the spectrum of each other.
Yeah, they're exactly. Like, they're not even close. Like, some people are like, I like Empire Strikes Back more than Star Wars. I like Godfather Part 2 more than Godfather Part 1. I like Aliens more than Alien. There's literally nobody that says I like Jaws the Revenge better than Jaws. No. If they are,
they're insane.
I was going to say it's Lorraine Gary or Joseph Sargent, the director and the actress that played the lead role. Wait a minute, she's not the lead. I forgot Michael's the lead. I can't even remember.
No, it wasn't Michael. It was the shark.
Right,
he was the lead.
Now, see, if you could probably come up with a 3-act structure based on the shark's point of view, and he's the lead.
Yeah.
And these asshole humans, they're the antagonist. We should
Right.
write that. Yeah,
They killed my dad. They killed my brother. Now I'm getting my revenge.
Dude, I mean, really, this is so bad. And I've seen bad movies before. I always tell
Have you
people,
seen The Room?
but The Room is classically bad. Like, it's bad for a fun way, right? Like, it's fun for like when they show that in the theaters. Every time they show spoons,
People
the audience
throw
members
spoons
throw
and forks.
spoons at the screen. My brother doesn't know this. You have to look up The Room, Chris.
Please.
You have to look up The Room. It's
Watch.
so classically bad.
Yeah, you
that
know, I
it's-
remember
it's become a novelty. It's become a
yeah,
novelty.
I remember
Yeah.
that was a thing. I didn't see it. You're right.
Yeah, it's
You're
just
tearing me apart.
apart, Lisa. Or the fact that they have 3 different sex scenes, but it's still the same sex scene with 3 different people.
And he has sex with her belly button each time.
Oh no.
Yes.
At no point
Yes.
is he actually anywhere near her vagina.
No. And also one of the main characters gets recast halfway through the film, and
Which is great.
no one says anything.
I can't tell you how many times I've had people tell me, "Oh, hi, Mark," just for no reason, like
Yeah.
for fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
hard
no, he
Mark.
doesn't. Oh, hi, Mark. All right. So generally, before we get into 6 Degrees, Lee, do you have any feedback on Jaws versus
I know.
Jaws 4?
Thanks for giving him the mic back, Jerome.
Yeah.
No, it's all right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I have to say, generally on these shows, I just go off and I don't give anyone a chance to breathe.
No, that's perfectly fine. I'd rather you do that because it just keeps it going. I know I heard this film was bad. I just didn't realize how bad it was. And it's like, this is a giant pile of shit. And the
Yeah.
Jaws is almost a textbook film. It's fantastic. It's besides the CGI, still stands up today. But number 4, this is a franchise killer. This is why they've never done another one ever.
And you know what's funny? You mentioned the special effects. So I was recently watching the climax of. So let me full disclosure. I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, both girls, and in sort of a bad father trying to toughen them up kind of way, I show them clips from Die Hard. I show them clips from Alien.
That's good
The chest-
parenting. That's
the
good
chest
parenting.
burster scene in Alien, right? Because I don't want them to be afraid of things.
Yeah.
So I expose them to this shit early.
I showed my kids The Matrix when they were little, so
Yeah. So their
all
favorite
right.
scene, by the way, from this movie is Quint getting eaten by the shark. By the
Oh,
way,
no.
their second favorite movie scene is the bear attacking Leo in The Revenant. Like that's so this
Hey.
is the kind of shit I show them on
That-
YouTube.
That's what he had to do to get that Oscar. He had to get
Yeah.
mauled by a
Right.
bear
Yeah.
to get it.
Great scene. But I show my kids this, the alien bursting out of John Hurt's chest in Alien, right? Like I show them this so that they don't fear things. But so one time I was showing somebody, they're like, "No, you don't." I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Vivi, that's my 7-year-old. Let's show." It was a neighbor or somebody, and I put on the Quint being eaten scene, and the first thing that person said was, "God, that shark looks so fake." And I'm like, "Motherfucker." Like, no, you want to see fake? Watch Jaws
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
Lay off Bruce, okay? Which was lovingly the name they gave the shark while shooting Jaws 1.
Which is,
Anyway,
Steven Spielberg's lawyer or something, wasn't it?
something like that. Are you ready? All right, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have officially ran out of ice. So I now had to crack into what I call my lightsabers, which is my tall
Ooh.
can,
tall blue
my
lightsaber.
25-ounce beer can. I don't drink regular beers. I drink mega beers.
Why the hell not? It's funny, actually. I'm just scrolling through trivia, and there's so many ones of saying this person declined to return, declined to return, declined to return, declined to return, declined to return.
Yeah.
And here's the best part. We, the three of us, all three of us, we could make Jaws 5 and improve greatly on what was left behind.
But I need the Rock to play the main character. That's how
No.
you gotta make the money.
No. I'm going to tell you something about The Rock. You want to hear some trivia about The Rock? I had this argument with somebody before. They're like, The Rock is the new Schwarzenegger. And I said, stop.
No.
Arnold, first of all, had charisma and screen presence. But here's the real big difference between Arnold and The Rock. I love The Rock. He's fun. But did you know that The Rock has in his contract that he can never lose a fight?
Yep.
And he can never, ever, what was it? He can't be like defeated
Yeah.
or be the site of defeat or something of that nature. What makes Arnold great is the moments he gets shit kicked out of him by the Predator and he still has to figure out how to win.
Mm.
You know, screen presence, your hero can't be infallible. Your hero has to get the... Look at John McClane. What makes the Die Hard movies so great is that guy gets the living fuck kicked out of him for 2 hours in every movie, and he still wins in the
He
end.
had to walk on glass.
Yeah. Oh, that scene.
Yes!
Oh.
Yes!
Imagine Brody being in Die Hard. Oh no, I get someone else to do it. It's
Right.
nah, that's not me.
Right,
I'm not doing
right.
it.
Where's Quint? We can't
Yeah.
get Quint to jump off this building. Like, you
Yeah.
know, like, but The Rock won't do none of that shit. I love The
No.
Rock, but he can never. He has
His
it in his
movies are
contract.
fun. I love them.
Yeah.
They're
That-
fun, but
that's
he has
about
in his
it. It's
contract.
fun.
I don't lose
Yeah.
a fight, and I don't ever like have to deal with adversity. I'm always great. I'm infallible.
Question: like, how? Which I think is great. How would you, off the top, how would you make Jaws 5? Like, how would you go back to Amity Island? Would you do it somewhere new? Would you do it somewhere fresh? How would you craft the story in this day and age? Or would you?
Mhm.
Or here's a $50 thing: do what a lot of films are doing right now: legacy sequels. It's the
Or-
grandkids that go back to the Amity Island.
Well, what you could do is you make Jaws 5, but you don't call it Jaws 5. You call it
Jaws the Revenge 2.
Put
It's
a
really
rifle in my
personal.
mouth right now.
No,
So-
if you did it today, it would probably be a prequel.
Well, no. Well, you can do a
Before the
prequel.
original.
You do a prequel of it's like a Finding Nemo meets Jaws, where it's like he's a guppy and he's learning how to swim with his one fin.
He
Right?
watched his
And
mom be attacked by some fisherman.
and that's why he's so pissed, right? And that's why he wants to eat people.
Oh my
So-
god, I just realized why the shark in Nemo is called Bruce.
Yes,
Because,
right. You didn't know
no, I didn't, never put the two together.
that? That's why it's.
I love Bruce.
But anyway, oh yeah, he's off. Anyway, no. But you could do a direct sequel to the first one, where they do that now. Where like the Halloween, was it the 2018 Halloween was supposed
Yeah.
to like shit can Halloween's 2 through 5, and it's a direct sequel to that.
Well, the Exorcist, the Believer.
Superman Returns. The one that Brandon Routh was the Superman was the same thing. It was basically a direct sequel
It
to Superman
ignored
2,
the other movies.
and it ignored Superman 3 and 4 like they never existed. So you could do a direct.
The new Ghostbusters did that with
Afterlife, Ghostbusters
yeah.
Afterlife, which is actually a really good movie. It's a direct sequel to the first movie.
Yep.
It's like the other ones never existed.
I thought
So
it does touch on about the second one. Doesn't it touch on that this event, the second one did happen, but very, very very
Maybe
low.
just ignored the third
Yeah,
one.
maybe they mention it, I guess. You want to know here? All right, because we like to go off on tangents. You want to know a little trivia about that? When they first did Ghostbusters 1, the script, Ernie Hudson's character's Winston was in 65. No, I think it was more than that. It was like 70 to 80% of the script. He was introduced on page 8. The reason why is because Eddie Murphy was supposed to play him. It was
That's
all
right.
SNL guys. It was all
Yeah.
SNL guys, and Eddie Murphy was supposed to play Winston. But Eddie
Hmm.
Murphy dropped out to do Beverly Hills Cop. So then they rewrote it. And by the way, what's his name? Ernie Hudson, he got the script. His agent gave him where he's introduced on page 8. And he's like, oh, fuck yeah, this is going to be my breakout film. I'm going to be a big star now. He shows up on set and they're like, here's the revisions. And he looks at the script. He's not introduced until page 65.
So rough.
What the fuck happened? They're like, well, you're not Eddie Murphy.
well, look at him now. He's the only one that's still going in the franchise, and he's the richest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure now he doesn't care. He did say in an interview that broke his heart as a starting out actor.
Sure, I bet.
He was like, dude, I was telling my mom and my grandma and everybody, I'm going to be a huge star. And I get to the set and I find out I'm just the also ran guy. Like,
Yeah, come back in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm tacked on at the end. So a little side trivia there on Ghostbusters. But to that point, so if we were to do a Jaws 5, we should probably do a direct sequel to Jaws. The problem is everybody's dead
Yeah.
for the most part.
That's why you do a prequel.
Yeah.
A prequel. Martin Brody, Chief Brody as a New York cop as a young age, avoiding responsibility, and the movie ends with him deciding to move to Amity Island.
That's right.
That's a great movie, Chris. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah. I can already
As
see
a
the last shot. I can already see the last shot saying, "Start new, somewhere safe," or "You want to start something peaceful? Move here."
Well,
you could actually make it. He Brody in New York City accidentally he kills the shark's mother and moves to the island, and it follows him down there
with his luggage. With his luggage, he's driving. You know, but again, that's pretty much what Abrams did with Star Wars. The Force Awakens is just a rehash of A New Hope.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's the same fucking movie. So if you were to tell me, okay, I'm tasking you to do a new Jaws movie, I would just rehash the first one, but create new actors and new characters or whatever, so people could say this is just like the first, and I'll be like counting the money, going, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Like
I'm sorry. What was that? I don't care.
First. Yep. Same
Just
character arc and everything. Funny how that works out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't complain when it was the Force.
I'm gonna fold right. I was just gonna say I'm gonna fold up my J.J. Abrams money here, and I'm just gonna put it right in my pocket. Whatever. Short attention spans. Anything else on Jaws 4 versus Jaws 1?
Well,
I'm out of trivia. Do you guys have anything else?
I'm chomping at the bit, getting ready for the 6 degrees because I want to see how long it's going to take you
to do this on the fly. That's
on the fly. You have no idea what's coming at you here.
No, I don't. Not at all.
None of the little trivia nuggets that I could see here that are interesting at all. Just more people going declined. Well, actually, here's a little good trivia thing that I did see. So, Jaws 1, on a budget of $9 million, made $476 million at the box office. Jaws 5 was $23 million to make and only made $51 million at the box office.
You mean 4?
51.
No, you said Jaws 5.
Oh, sorry, Jaws 4.
That's the movie we're going to make.
Yeah.
That's the movie we're going to make.
Ahead. Yeah, sorry, Jaws 4. So
wait, how much did it make? Jaws 4?
$51 million on a $23 million budget. So it still made money.
It still made money.
Nothing. Yeah.
All right. So
6 degrees of separation.
So do you have something to write with, Jerome?
No, I don't.
Okay, you want to write this down or on your type it out or something? Or I'll text it to you and I'll read it.
No, just tell me. Just tell me.
Okay. So from Jaws, we are going to connect Chrissy, who dies in the first 4 minutes of the movie.
My God.
Susan Bacalini.
It's Bacalini.
Bacalini.
Yeah.
So we're going to connect Chrissy with Thea, whose career was almost as short as Susan's, because sadly,
but she wasn't in. She died. Thea's dead in real life. Like,
yeah, but she's done other movies.
No, she has not.
Yeah, she does. Yes, she has. You can. Then I told you have to look it up. So Thea's name is Judith Barcy.
You want to know real quick while I'm looking her up?
Who played the little girl?
Yeah. Did you know how she died?
Yeah, it's tragic. So this is a piece of trivia I didn't know if we were going to touch, but it's really sad. So the little girl in Jaws: The Revenge, she was sadly murdered by her father. Her father lost his mind and killed, I guess, her and her mom. And yeah, you can read all about it. There's in the in IMDb. Actually, I don't remember. I think it's in Thea's IMDb page. It's all written out about what happened, and it's like, so it's dark and sad, and yeah, but it also means she wasn't in a lot of movies, and I wanted to make my brother work for this one.
Okay.
So how convenient that your career got cut short
for
this trivia.
It's so sad.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I got it.
I can hear the ticking.
Yeah. So, but I can't use Jaws, right?
Can't use Jaws.
All right.
So, yeah, he's gonna have to think. So, And Chrissy wasn't in a whole lot of movies either. The woman
No,
that
and
played Chrissy,
yeah, she's not.
Susan
Um,
Bacalini.
Bacalini. So, hmm.
Ooh.
I
Yeah,
got it in
this is
4. I got it in 4, but I,
yeah,
you
but
know,
you got to research.
I researched and I looked at IMDb and everything. But I know when my brother looks at if he just looks at the movies that these two actors were in with his encyclopedia brain, he'll probably know he'll be able to make connections that I couldn't make. I had to actually dig a little.
Man, that's a tough one. Okay,
I,
so
I wish I had
let,
ticking music.
off top of my head,
Yeah.
I know that Susan Bacalini was actually she was also in The Great Muppet Caper,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which was loaded with people. Of course, Charles Grodin's the star of that. So it's a Great Muppet Caper, Charles Grodin. Say maybe Midnight Run, De Niro. Heat, Pacino. Scarface, F. Murray Abraham. That's too far. That's Amadeus is Tom Hulse, who was in Slam Dance with Judith Barcy. So that's 5, but it's got to be less than that.
So you got it in 5.
I got it in 5, but it's got to be less than that. So let
Yeah.
me see. But you got to investigate. I'm not investigating. I'm going on the fly here, you fucking prick. All right, so let me see here. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. She was the Great Muppet. Jack Warden was also in the Great Muppet Caper.
Okay.
So that's so Great Muppet Caper.
Yeah.
Jack Warden, who's in And Justice for All with Pacino. Scarface with F. Murray Abraham, who's in Amadeus with Tom Hulse. That's still 5.
Still
who's
5.
in Slam Dance with
Can I tell you what I did? I'll just tell you that I started with Judith. You started with
Barcy.
Judith. Yeah, okay. Thea. I started with her. Now look at what movies she was in.
Now you're not using the animated ones where she just does voices,
nope,
right?
No voices.
Nah, it's a feature film.
Yep, it was she was on the big screen in a feature film.
Okay. Are you using Gary Busey?
I did not.
Okay. Okay. What movie did you use?
Eye of the Tiger.
Okay, with Gary Busey.
But who else was in that?
Yaphet Kotto.
That's who I used.
So, Eye of the Tiger. What would you be going with Yaphet Kotto?
Well, the immediate movie, when I saw his face, I knew what movie I was going to use with him in it.
Which one?
Like Sold.
Alien.
Oh.
I'm helping him. I'm so disappointed right now.
No, but you're having so much fun, aren't you, Chris?
Oh, yeah. Harry Dean Stanton. Harry Dean Stanton?
No. I
got it.
You look so stumped.
Yeah.
It's like you like wait for the penny to drop.
Yeah, it's all right. So I don't know. I've been drinking. What do you got?
All right. Judith Barcy was she was in Eye of the Tiger with Yaphet Kotto. Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
He was in Alien with Sigourney Weaver.
Okay.
Sigourney Weaver was in Ghostbusters with
Dan Aykroyd, who's in 1941 with Susan Bacalini.
So I did it in 4.
Fucking prick.
Yeah, it was fun though.
Now again, this isn't a stump Jerome.
He
does shit like this. He does shit like this where he is making it a stump Jerome.
I know it's my fun though, but you're right though. We've never not gotten one in less than. Actually, I don't even think we've gone to 6 degrees, have we? Have we? I mean, usually by 5.
Yeah,
I think 5 is the longest one we've ever done.
I thought another trivia because of these actors and actresses.
Okay.
The lady that plays Mrs. Kintner in Jaws, the one that slaps Brody in the face, I want to say she's only been in 2 movies. 2. You know what the second one is?
What?
Jaws 4.
Oh, she was in this one?
Wait, she was in Jaws 4?
So when Sean dies from the shark attack early in the movie, the first 10 minutes or whatever, there's a scene of Ellen out by the ocean, staring off into the ocean, and there's people that come to the house to see how she's doing. Mrs. Kidner's in the living room.
Oh,
Because why not? They both have lost a son to the shark.
So she's one of the few actors that said, "Okay, I'll be in it."
Yeah. I'll come do
She's
it.
one that was like trimming her rose bushes, and they're like, "Hey, you want to make a quick 50 grand?" And she's like, "Okay."
Yep.
Wow, you are not kidding. She's literally Jaws the Revenge. Jaws deleted scenes video documentary in 2000, and then the Mist Overtail in 2016. That is it.
That's funny. Wow.
That's like it. That's it. And one of those is a documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the same footage.
Of the same
footage.
Right, so she's not even really in it. She had to do no extra acting for that.
Yeah.
Oh. So several decades after filming the Jaws, Lee, who plays Mrs. Kintner, walked into a seafood restaurant and noticed that the menu had an Alex Kintner sandwich. She commented that she had played his mother many years ago, and the owner of the restaurant went out to meet her, none other than Jeffrey Foyes, who played her son, who they have not met since the original movie was shot.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Holy shit.
That's good trivia.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The chances of that.
Right.
You know, the funny thing is, when you mentioned Susan Baccalini, I was actually thinking about 1941 because I think she's only been in a couple of movies. But you know her scene in 1941? It's a spoof on her scene in Jaws. The 1941 opens with her running out naked into the water. And instead of being hunted by a shark, this Japanese submarine comes up out of the water, and she's on top of it naked. She's like, "Oh my God."
I forgot about that.
It's a complete spoof, which of course it's a Spielberg movie. 1941 is a Spielberg movie.
I've seen it, but it's been a long time.
They spoof. The opening scene is a spoof on her part in Jaws.
That's funny.
So so when you first said her, I was like, I bet you 1941. But then I thought, Aykroyd and John Belushi and. I don't know. And I was thinking about the Great Muppet Caper because Grodin was in so much stuff. And there's a lot of stars in the Great Muppet Caper. So that's where I went first. When you said Judith Barcy, I'm like, wait a minute. She's dead. She's only done like 2 things.
But there's big names in
and
those
again,
things.
Not to make light of it, but this is really weird. Spielberg has sort of like a curse with children,
with child actors,
with children in his movie, like the Poltergeist kids.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And but they're all like weird. Like the teenage daughter in Poltergeist was strangled by her ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, did the whole cast have didn't the whole main cast have a car accident, died, or sick in something else?
Well, the son is fine. There's a rumor that the son died too, but he didn't. You're talking about Poltergeist, right? Poltergeist 1. Yeah. Carol Ann, of course, died after Poltergeist 3. She had a weird one too. She had these sores on the inside of her large intestine that as the feces would go through her intestine was leaking into her bloodstream.
Into her blood,
so she died. She died of septic shock.
Wow. That was weird. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fucking weird one, right? Like that's just weird. And then what was it? So Judith Barcy, of course.
You think she contracted something when she was in the spirit world?
From
Poltergeist.
Possibly.
Either that, HIV,
Sorry.
So Judith Barcy is not really technically Spielberg's because it was Jaws 4. And had nothing to do with that. But yeah, her dad. He
was an alcoholic, and
he's an alcoholic.
He was abusive, and
he lost his mind, and he killed both her and the mother, and then killed himself.
Yeah, it's horrible.
But it's crazy. Yeah, it was like that wrestler. What was that wrestler's name that did that shit?
Chris Benoit.
And you know the weird thing about that one is, they found out Chris Benoit died. That was the headline. Chris Benoit is dead. That night, like Vince McMahon and all the wrestlers were like, because it was like Monday Night Raw or something. They're like, let's have a tribute. They go and start having all this great
Yeah.
tribute, and like 5 minutes before they go on, they're like, "Fuck, we just found out how he died. He
Oh,
killed
yeah.
his whole family and then himself." And they were like, "Do we do the tribute?" Like,
Oh no.
Yeah.
panic at the last minute. Like, oh my god.
And I
that's
think
horrible.
I think you also, if you go onto like the WWE network, I think that episode it's fully been taken out. Like there's no
Yeah.
mention.
Really?
Like he's no mention.
I
think
would,
in
yeah,
any
I
of,
would, I would
in
imagine.
You know
any of
where
the
I
WWE
saw
network.
it? There's a documentary that has a bunch of episodes called "The Dark Side of the Ring."
Yeah, that's
And they talk
really
about
good.
it on that one. That's a really good one because they talk about everything. They do
They do
the
Owen Hart's. They do Owen Hart's.
Owen Hart's death, and the Montreal screw job, and then they have the ill-fated flight where what's his name?
The ride from hell. Isn't
The
it?
Ride from Hell, where they're like sexually assaulting stewardesses and shit. I mean, you get all of these wrestlers coked up. You know what I mean? And then you put them on like an 11-hour flight from Europe to LA or New York, and they're just losing their minds. Like, didn't they have to strap one guy down? Like one wrestler had to like duct tape to his seat or something. Like, it's crazy.
There's a whole bunch of stories about that flight.
Yeah.
But no,
we're getting way off subject.
way off topic. Way off topic. But look, guys,
That's why they call it rant.
Exactly right. We've got the lights. We've got the cameras. There's only one thing left.
So Lee, I hope you get an example. You're getting a little idea of how our shows go. So anyone that's listening to this, if you guys are fans of Lee and you like Lights Camera Rant, and you see like how we interact, we drink while we do our show, we go off on rants and tangents, and we talk movies and all kinds of crazy.
The Silence of the Silence of the Lambs episode, the Midsummer, Silence of the Midsummer Part 2 that we're going to release on Halloween. He damn near killed me. He said something that
my brother almost dies. He almost dies.
He broke me. I may have pissed my pants. I'm not gonna. I haven't said that anywhere. Maybe
you
I
just
did.
now said it to a million people.
I know, but oh my god, I was laughing so hard, and so, anyways, it was so much fun. But
everyone needs to go check it out. And how you guys only have 14 episodes amazes me. I thought you guys would have so much more.
No, so this started out. I mean, it's just a hobby. So my brother and I have done this all our lives.
And there's episodes that we didn't even post, right? Because in the beginning, the audio was so bad.
The
very shit canned them.
Yeah, the very first episode we tried to record was horrible. We didn't have the microphones plugged in right or something.
That was like 12 Angry Men versus
the Chicago
7.
Yeah, that was that was a good episode.
We actually should reboot that one. That was a good episode.
But anyways, yeah, so we've been doing this all our lives, and we just decided a couple years ago, I was like, man, we should just do this and record our conversation, because I look forward to it, and I'm glad we have. So we've gotten to a groove where it's coming out about once a month, and actually I'm getting better at the editing and everything. So now we might up it to twice a month, because we're gonna see how that goes. But at least it's a regular thing now. And before, like, if you look at the first year, it was kind of sporadic, and we were just trying to find our legs. But this is our second full year, and yeah, we've been going. I think we've averaged one a month since May, and actually, I think December is going to be 2, and
so our Thanksgiving episode. If you'll allow us to plug right now, Lee.
Plug away, because you guys have a great show and a great logo too.
It's Silver Screen Happy Hour. The funny thing is that logo is taken from a real photo that was taken of
actually us. Isn't it 2 photos, or is it the same one?
Yeah, no, it's 2 different photos.
2 separate photos of us.
The picture of you is different. The picture of me, I took that picture with Mom at a movie theater, by the way. So anyway, which, by the way, I look awful.
You know what movie that was? You know what movie that was that you took Mom to see?
What?
Uncut Gems, I think.
Yes, it was Uncut Gems. So here's the list of shit I take my mom to see: Leaving Las Vegas, Uncut Gems, The Whale, Midsummer. Like, my poor mother, I swear to God, I subject her to all this crazy shit, and she still loves me because I'm the baby. But anyway,
yeah.
So our Thanksgiving special is a war. We're doing war theme.
Yeah,
And
it's actually
we're
going to come
doing
out the week before on what, Armistice Day or Veterans Day in
Veterans Day.
America.
Veterans Day. So we're going to
Veterans
release it
Day.
on Veterans Day. And it's The Thin Red Line and All Quiet on the Western Front, the new version.
Yeah,
Ooh.
That
Yeah,
was
the
fun.
one that was just up for Best Picture recently.
Yeah.
So we're doing
So many
those
good
two.
reviews.
And then our Christmas special, which we are fucking pumped for.
Well, what are you guys doing for Christmas? This I gotta know.
So again, we're doing sort of like what we did today. We're going to pick a shitty one versus a good one. There's what is it, Chris? Is it 2019? There's a movie that Mel Gibson was in called Fat Man.
Another
he
Mel
plays,
Gibson turd.
Or another Mel Gibson turd where he plays Santa Claus.
Fat Man, yeah. It's all one word too. If you look it up, it's Fat Man.
Fat Man. And Walt Goggins,
Oh, that was
who
2020.
I love. Is it 2020? Okay.
Yeah.
Walt Goggins is in it, who plays the assassin. You heard me right. And I love him because I loved The Shield was one of my favorite shows. I used to watch The Shield religiously. And Walt Goggins plays the assassin in Fat Man,
Yeah,
a Christmas movie.
he's come to take out Kris Kringle.
Right.
What
So what happens is this kid, this spoiled brat, gets coal for Christmas, so he hires a hitman to take out Santa. That's the storyline.
A rowdy, unorthodox Santa Claus is finally to save his declining business. Meanwhile, Billy, a neglected and precious 12-year-old, hires a hitman to kill Santa after seeing a lump of coal in his stocking. And it's still got a 5.9 on IMDb.
My oldest daughter.
Are you sure it's not
told me to
negative
watch it.
5.9?
No, my oldest daughter actually loved it. Maybe it was so bad she saw it on a plane. Lindsay watched it on the way home.
Lindsay did not love this movie.
She did. I swear to you, she did. So,
I watched Solo with Lindsay for the first time. I love telling that story. Okay, wait. Pause for station identification. All right. So anyway, Lee's like, Jesus, it's like 10 a.m. on my time.
Yeah, I know.
It's long past happy hour here. It's like 8 o'clock.
Long past
Eastern time.
It's 5:19 p.m. on Friday night.
Jerry's
where
right.
I am.
Jerome's right in the middle of happy hour.
I am right in my sweet spot, baby. Right in the
Now
sweet spot.
Go for it.
So, by the way, so we're contrasting that. We're doing Mel Gibson's Fat Man versus the 1988 Christmas classic Die Hard.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. And the episode will end. Here's the hook for those of you that are thinking, well, I don't know if I'll listen. You'll want to listen because here's the hook at the end. We debate whether or not Die Hard is truly a Christmas movie, and I will give points for and against. But it is a Christmas movie.
I'm not going to tip my hand.
No, you got to watch it. You got to listen. You got to listen. You got to listen to our podcast. But anyway, but we have a great slate for 2024 right out of the bat. January, we're going to do Legally Blonde versus Liar Liar.
Yeah.
And then in February,
that's a request from another one of my daughters. Wanted me to want us to do Legally Blonde, and I'm like, what other comedy, / legal themed movie could we do? And Liar Liar was a great one. I loved that one. So.
And then Valentine's Day, we're doing a little time travel romance for February's Valentine's. We're doing About Time, starring Rachel McAdams, which is more of a recent film, right? And we're comparing it to
not really, but
an early 80s movie, Somewhere in Time, with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour. So,
shit.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Lee?
No, I've seen clips of that.
Yeah.
You gotta watch. It takes place in Michigan, Lee. You gotta watch it. That's our home state.
Gotta watch it.
So also in have you seen About Time, Lee?
No.
So the male lead in that is, how do you pronounce his name? Domhnall Gleeson?
Domhnall Gleeson from Force Awakens.
Yeah. Well, he's been in other things too. But
he's been in a shitload. Actually, he blew up for like 2 years. He was in like every movie that you saw on screen.
Yeah.
Like he was in everything.
Ex Machina. That was a good one.
He was in Ex Machina too. Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, this was a ton of fun, Lee. I am so glad you invited us on here, and
of course
we should. It's kind of late in the show, but we should plug how we met on the Clubhouse, the Empowered Podcasting House, and they have Yeah, and they have the podcast morning chat every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern time. And what time is that for you? 7 a.m. Eastern time.
Well, it's actually now because it's daylight savings. It's actually 10 o'clock when you guys start.
Oh, geez, yeah.
So I always listen to it the next day.
Yeah, we miss you.
No, but anyone who like being an inspiring podcaster and is just looking for some new tips and tricks, I highly recommend it. Like a lot of the stuff that I use now is all because of everyone chatting in that group,
Yeah.
which seems to be constantly expanding.
Yeah.
And the
yeah.
meetup, I'm so jealous about the meetup.
Yeah, the meetup in Detroit. Yeah, well, and it's not nailed down yet, but we're hoping. You know, so maybe you can figure out a reason to come to the states.
Is it like a meeting of mob bosses, like
and
they
we'll
always have in every
get you
mob
to
boss
Detroit.
movie?
Yeah,
All the mob families are getting together.
all together. This is what we're gonna do at this meet. This is how you act at this meet.
Yeah.
But no,
And then a rival podcaster will take everybody out.
Yep. Another clubhouse morning chat podcaster group comes in.
It's a
It
great
writes itself.
community. It's a great community though. There's no rival podcasters in that clubhouse group because they're all there to support other podcasters that are trying to figure it out. And like Lee, I've learned a ton. And Lee, you've been doing this I think longer, but also more often. So you've got way more experience than we do. And I've seen you, I mean, I've seen your game go up so much in the past year, even since we met, just because of things you've learned, and probably not just from the morning chat, but yeah, you've implemented so many things that you've picked up over the last year or so. It's been really fun to watch.
Oh, thanks, man. Like that's all from that. Like, a lot of that's from the morning chat and always picking Mark's brain as well of like how to do this, and not to mention like there's so many AI tools. Like the title of this episode, I was stuck and I was like, all right, how do you make something? And this came up, and there's even with I forgot what it's called, Adobe Audio Cleaner too. I'm like, I wish I found that when I started podcasting instead of me sounding like I'm in a warehouse.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to get my brother an actual studio, and I'm in an attic that we actually finished. So this is turning into a decent studio, but my brother's in a closet.
Yeah, I'm in a closet right now. I'm in a closet. I got the.
I was wondering where you were too. I was like,
but I'm in a fucking closet, Lee. And someday I want to come out of the closet. I just want to come out of the closet.
Hey, that's acceptable today.
Right.
Absolutely.
There's anything wrong with that. And I want to come out of the closet. And I'm actually planning on in my garage. We have a 3-car garage, and I'm going to build a recording studio where I have actually some room to like have a desk and a real camera and a real everything. And
soundproof it. Yeah.
Dude, I'm so cramped right now. I'm cramped. And I'm not exactly the skinniest guy in the world. So like I command this space. Like, I feel like I'm filling it out right here. So I need a little bit room to write shit down.
Yeah.
So that's why when my brother was like, "Hey, do you have a pen? You want to take some notes?" I'm like, I can't. I have alligator arms right now. So
yeah.
No,
but it's good enough to hold a beer, and that's all I need.
That's the main thing. I wish I had the space to build a studio. This is as far as I've got so far. And my partner's like, "You talk so loud." I'm like, "It's because I'm just excited."
Yeah.
So
well, he tells me all the time. My brother's biggest criticism. Can you step away from the mic because you're hitting red a lot?
it's like up here constantly.
It's spiking red. Well, that's me. I spike red. That's what I do.
It means you're passionate. It means you love what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we hope that some of your fans, some of your listeners and followers will also pipe into the Silver Screen Happy Hour.
Please do.
Yeah. We our shows run about an hour if we're lucky. Sometimes they go over.
Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah. So
they go over. But so if you have a long drive, like coming up in mid-November, I have to drive down to LA again, which from where I am, it's about a 6-hour drive. I will replay all of our episodes just to pass the time, like I will listen to some of our
Well,
episodes.
thankfully you're learning, you're finding some other podcasts like
Yeah.
the Writers Blockbusters guys and now
Yeah,
Lee, and so you
I'll
got other
check that
guys to
out.
listen to because it's just gross when we nerd out
Yeah.
about ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I do the same. Every time I get in the car with someone, I was like, "Oh, do you want me to change something?" Sure. My podcast. Oh, this just came on.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because Chris does the editing, and sometimes he'll text me like, "Hey, Midsummer's ready," and I'll be like, "Oh, I'm so excited!" What's funny is that I remember in the '90s, I used to watch a show called The Larry Sanders Show with Gary Shandling playing this late night talk show host. He was kind of like a David Letterman type. He was playing the role, And on the show, they recorded in the afternoon, like they all do, like the Tonight Show and all that shit. They all shoot it in the daytime, and then they air it at 11 o'clock at night. That's why when Letterman used to go out on the street, it was always daylight. You know what I mean? It's because they shoot it in the day. But the funny thing about that show was Gary Shandling's role, his character, he always watched his own show. Like that's what he did every night. He would sit on the couch, put his feet up, and watch the show that they just recorded. And I remember thinking, that's a little like narcissistic, isn't it? That you're watching your own show. But now I get it. Because now when I hear that one of our shows is released, I'm like, I'm fucking listening to that. I gotta hear how funny I am. That's what we do. And I gotta hear how much I drink.
Yeah. I think there was 3 cracks of the can. Yeah, I should have done one more.
Yeah. I can't. You know what? Next show, I'm gonna go for one more. I'm gonna go for one.
No, but look, guys, thank you for this. Has been a blast, and for both looking at Jaws and Jaws 4, and I will make sure that all your details and links will be in the show notes. Do you guys have any final words before we send off?
Just thank you, and we're going to replay this on our. You offered to let us use the audio and video or whatever for our podcast, so I'm going to tell our listeners, look up Lee and listen. Follow him and Lights Camera Rant. You're not going to be disappointed. Especially what series you're doing right now. Are you doing Loki?
We're doing Loki and Gen V.
Yeah.
Oh,
you got quite the catalog too. So check them out. There's lots of stuff to binge.
Yeah, 100. Which I can't believe, about 128 episodes now.
That's awesome.
That is great. I will say, like, again, a lot of our show is geared towards like beginning writers that are trying to like figure out script structure and kind of get examples from films.
And that's perfect.
And if anyone that really wants to dig into our archive on any podcast app that you have, we have some good ones. Like the what was it? The Ethan Hawke Day is one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
We compared Training Day and Dead Poet Society, 2 films where Ethan Hawke is the supporting role, but we feel he's the lead in both films. So we argue while he gets shafted on the billing because he's always billed as the supporting role, but he's the lead in both of those films.
Yeah.
And so, from a writing standpoint,
not Robin Williams, not Denzel.
No,
it's Ethan Hawke.
I
was a skeptic.
The guy gets no love.
Hey, he was great in Moon Knight. He did really good in Moon Knight for being a villain.
Yes. Oh wait.
I didn't see that one.
What about oh my god.
Oscar Isaac and
the Black Phone. He was in Black Phone too.
Yeah.
Where he plays the serial killer. Right?
Oh jeez.
That's right. And I think it was the same year too. So he went from being a Marvel movie into a horrific horror film.
Yeah. But yeah, so beginning writers, I think you'll dig our podcast because we
highly recommend.
Pick apart scripts, and that's kind of what we do. And we drink while we do it. And why? What's not fun about that?
No, when it's 9 o'clock in the morning. But for me, usually every episode's got a drink in my hand.
Well, this was a lot of fun, and I just said, let's do it again sometime. I'd love to be able to revisit this idea because this is fun. And my brother and I we've been experimenting with some video So we're gonna see, because I'd love to start doing video, at least for reels and things, for social. But this is a fun way to do it. That way your audience can get to see you and get to know, what you look like and everything. So yeah, it's
Get out there.
definitely, yeah. So we're experimenting with that. So.
We were fired up for this, Lee.
Yeah.
We were fired up for this show.
I'm glad you guys came on. I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, we were pumped for the Midsummer Silence of the Lambs episode, and we were pumped for the Star Wars anniversary, which I think got the most hits. Is that the one that got the most?
That's the
watches?
one.
Yeah, like our Star Wars anniversary show had the spiked. Like that was like the one everyone wanted to listen to, because we really dug into Star Wars. We're all Star Wars geeks. We're Star Wars geeks. We love it.
Yeah, right.
But aside from all of that, we were so pumped for today. I was telling people at work, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna be in fucking Australia tonight. I'm talking to Australia tonight. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, shut up and listen. Just listen to it.
Do it.
I'm gonna be in Australia. That's me. I'm worldwide now.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And I'm glad that this could be your first international one. I feel privileged. Thank you.
Yes. Hey, thank you. My wife's been to Australia. I've never been, but I cannot wait. Yeah. I want to go to Australia. I hear nothing but great things. Good morning, Australia. It's Friday night here, but good morning, Australia. Yes. And man, I can't wait. I definitely want to check it out.
Please do.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, as always, until next time, happy ranting.
Thanks for listening to Lights, Camera, Rant. If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a rating and review, and be sure to tell your friends. Until next time, happy ranting.